Chapter 947. The next evening, they arrived at the Great Light Peak. As soon as Chu Li returned to the spirit medicine nursery, Zhou Huang ran over and complained that the efficiency of the spirit medicine nursery was too low and unbearably slow. The spirit medicine nursery could not do without him. Instead of risking his life outside, it was better to stay in the spirit medicine nursery. At that moment, a young lady in green entered the spirit medicine nursery and approached Chu Li. "Junior brother Zhao, the saint invites you." Chu Li gave a fist salute and followed her to the Divine Light Basilica. The setting sun dyed the Divine Light Basilica a rosy color. Every stone on the floor of the basilica had a warm luster, as if they were made of white jade. Sun Minghua sat behind the desk. Her white dress and veil were dyed rosy as well. Her beautiful almond-shaped eyes were vibrant and captivating. She looked thoughtfully at the 2 sword manuals and a bottle of detachment pills on the desk. She did not expect Zhao De to be so capable. Everywhere he went, the world was turned upside down. It was as if he was shrouded in an invisible layer of luck, as if God was taking care of him. It was the Holy Church of Light's fortune that such a person could enter, but there was a very important problem. She could not see through his thoughts. When he was still weak, this problem was not worth mentioning. A small disciple could not do anything. However, in just a few months, he had accumulated a huge amount of merit and was promoted to patrol. Once he became a patrol, he would no longer be a small figure. She needed to observe him carefully and let him be an altar leader. An altar master oversaw a region. If he were to have second thoughts, it would be too damaging to the Holy Church. Moreover, he was still too young and was an outer peak disciple. He had no foundation in the Holy Church. If he suddenly rose to a high position and became an altar leader, all the disciples in the Holy Church would not be convinced. Experience was a powerful thing, and sometimes it was even more powerful than martial arts. Now, he needed to suppress him a little, slow down his speed of ascension, and build up his experience. Only then would he be able to walk more steadily and also make others feel more at ease. An altar master who was too young was not a good thing. His actions were not steady, and people could not be at ease. If he was impulsive, the Holy Church would suffer heavy losses, and the consequences would be unpredictable. Thousands of thoughts flashed through her mind. Sun Minghua looked up at Chu Li. Chu Li stood tall and proud in the main hall, looking at her calmly. His gaze was bold, and he did not have the slightest bit of respect and admiration that the other disciples had. His face was still as ugly as ever, with triangular eyes, thick lips, and a flat nose. A smile appeared on Sun Minghua's face. Looks were insignificant to her. She had seen too many handsome men and beautiful women, and was already numb to looks. She only cared about talent and ability, martial arts, and loyalty. From today onwards, you will be a patrol. Sun Minghua said. Chu Li gave a fist salute and said, "Thank you, Saint. You deserve it." Sun Minghua said, "The less ultimate sword is indeed powerful, even more so than the great light sword technique. You have contributed greatly." Chu Li nodded. "You want to be promoted to altar master immediately?" "Yes." "Because of altar leader MO?" "Yes." "Unfortunately, you won't be able to do as you wish." Sun Minghua said calmly, "Your martial arts skills are not enough to become an altar leader, no matter how great your contributions are." Chu Li was stunned for a moment. Then he understood. Martial arts skills and contributions were the 2 legs of advancement, and neither could be dispensed with. Now that his cultivation level was crippled, he had to cultivate again. Not to mention, to hide the fact that the Earth Matrix and Reincarnation Scripture could restore martial arts skills, he had not recovered his martial arts skills. Even if he recovered his martial arts skills, his cultivation level was not enough to become an altar leader. His light blade was powerful, but his lack of cultivation level was his shortcoming. He did not realize this when he was still a branch leader, but if he wanted to be promoted to altar leader, he would need to have a sufficient cultivation level, and not just the level of the light blade. There was a fixed standard for how deep one's cultivation level was needed. The Great Light Scripture itself did not have levels, only levels. If one continued to cultivate it, the power of the divine light body would continue to increase, and one could even ascend to heaven with this scripture. In ancient times, there were many seniors who directly ascended to heaven by rainbow transformation, but after the spirit beasts returned to 100,000 hills, no one succeeded. Most importantly, the Great Light Scripture was divided into two parts at that time, so the people from the Holy Church of Light did not know if they could ascend to heaven by rainbow transformation. Now, the seniors living in seclusion at Great Light Peak were all filled with hope, and they desperately cultivated the Great Light Scripture, hoping to ascend to heaven by rainbow transformation before their lifespans ended. "I've decided to let you join the Herbalist Hall," Sun Mingyue said. "Your talent in alchemy is more amazing than your talent in martial arts. Go to the Herbalist Hall and practice alchemy. You can also improve your cultivation level in preparation for becoming an altar leader." Chu Li shook his head. "I don't want to be a pill refining master." Sun Mingyue's eyes flashed, and she said, "This is my decision. Just follow my orders." Chu Li shook his head. "Forgive me for not following your orders. I don't want to be a pill refining master. I want to become an altar leader as soon as possible." Mo Qianjuan's actions in Falling Autumn City made him understand that a higher rank could crush a person. If he had not been smart enough to see through his tricks before Mo Qianjun, things would not have gone so smoothly. If Mo Qianjun didn't resort to such underhanded methods, he could just ask him to hand over the detachment pills. If he didn't hand over the detachment pills, Mo Qianjun would have a legitimate reason to deal with him. He could even order Li Rulin and the others to capture him. If he did not become an altar leader as soon as possible, this kind of situation would happen again, and Mo Qianjun would not let him go. He could not harm him by using his identity as an altar leader, but he could use his identity to humiliate him. Sun Mingyue's tone was calm, and there was no change in it. "Do you know the consequences of disobeying my orders?" Chu Li asked. "What consequences?" "Demote by 1 level," Sun Mingyue said. "If you disobey me again, you'll be demoted by 2 levels, and if you can't demote anymore, you'll be expelled from Great Light Peak." Chu Li fell silent, and he lowered his head to think. Sun Mingyue looked at him quietly, and her eyes were cold and calm. After a while, she said calmly, "Have you thought it through?" "I don't want to be a pill refining master." Chu Li lifted his head to look at her, and his gaze was firm. "Forget about demoting me by 1 level. Even if you expel me from Great Light Peak, I'll still say the same thing. I won't become a pill refining master. All right, I'll fulfill your wish." Sun Mingyue nodded and said, "You're a branch leader now. Go back to Gale City and stay there." She felt that it was a pity that he was stubborn and unruly, and she could not allow him to become an altar leader. He was like a horse that could not be controlled, and the faster it ran, the more trouble it would cause. This kind of person had to be trained well. First, it was to get rid of his unruly nature, and second, it was to observe his loyalty and see if he could withstand the test. If it was someone else, she would not have to go through so much trouble, and she could see through his heart with just a glance. She could only use this kind of manipulation technique on Chu Li. It would be a pity to give up on such a genius. She needed to polish him well. And while doing so, she could see through his qualities. Only then, she could use him to become an altar leader or a priest. Chu Li fist saluted. "Understood." Sun Mingyue waved her hand. "Go." Without another word, Chu Li turned around and left with his head held high, and strode out of Divine Light Basilica. Soon, he stepped into the strong wind and strode down the mountain. Son, Minghua looked at his back, thoughtfully. Chapter 948. Chu Li's face darkened as he returned to the spirit medicine nursery and went into his house to pack his things. He left the treasured pill scripture and 100 herb scripture behind, as he did not want to bring them along. The scriptures were imprinted in his mind, and he could redraw them whenever he needed them. While he was packing, Zhou Huang and Su Jingya came in. "What's going on? You're going out again." Zhou Huang shouted in dissatisfaction as soon as he entered. "Young fellow, don't forget that you're now a member of the spirit medicine nursery." Su Jingya was surprised. "Senior brother Zhao, you have another mission?" Chu Li stopped and fist saluted. "Elder Zhou, junior sister Su, I'm leaving the spirit medicine nursery for good this time. I'm going down the mountain." "What's going on?" Zhou Huang was displeased. "You haven't even been here for a year." Chu Li replied, "I'm a branch leader now. I'm going to Gale City to be a branch leader. I won't be coming back." "Branch leader?" Zhou Huang frowned. "I remember now. You're a branch leader, but why are you in such a hurry to leave? You should first plant a type of spirit herb in the spirit medicine nursery to accumulate some credits." To Zhao Dai, it was easy to accumulate credits in the spirit medicine nursery. However, it was not so easy outside. He had to fight with his life on the line and snatch credits from others. It was better to plant spirit herbs for a few days than to accumulate credits. Chu Li shook his head. "I disobeyed the saint's order and refused to become a pill refining master in the herbalist hall. The saint must have asked me to leave for Gale City. Out of sight, out of mind. The herbalist hall." Zhou Huang gritted his teeth. "They must have encouraged the saint." Chu Li replied, "I'm talented in alchemy. I've refined the detachment pill, so the saint wants me to refine pills, but I don't want to do it." The detachment pill. Zhou Huang quickly recalled and looked at Chu Li in shock. Chu Li scoffed. "Gale City is good too. It's a carefree place." "Humph, good my asterisk SS." Zhou Huang glared at him and shook his head. "That's the far west. You've been banished." He did not think of going to the saintess to plead for leniency, as it was useless. The saintess was a woman of her word, and she would never go back on her word. Not to mention him pleading for leniency, even if the cult master personally spoke, it would be useless. Su Jingya stood to the side, feeling a little reluctant. Although junior brother Zhao was a little ugly, he was easy to get along with, and he didn't have any bad intentions. She was reluctant to part with him, but she didn't show it. She just smiled calmly and said goodbye to him, telling him to come back often when he had time. "Elder Zhou, I will leave sooner or later. All good things must come to an end." Chu Li packed a bag and slung it over his shoulder. "I'll come back often. If you need anything, send a letter to Gale City, and I'll receive it." "You rascal!" Zhou Huang said hatefully. "How dare you go head-on against the saint? You're simply courting death. Remember this lesson and be more obedient next time. The saint is ruthless. No matter how talented you are, she won't spoil you." Chu Li curled his lips disapprovingly. He gave a fist salute and turned around to leave. Li Rulin hurried over as soon as he arrived at the entrance of the valley. She was panting heavily, and her charming face was dyed red. She looked tender and alluring. Chu Li closed fist saluted. "Senior sister, are you here to bid farewell to me too?" "Zhao Dai, have you lost your mind?" Li Rulin yelled. Her charming face was covered with a layer of frost. She rushed over as soon as she received the news. She was furious on the way here because Zhao Dai had been kicked out of his post as soon as he was promoted to patrol. He was demoted to a branch leader, and was even sent back to Gale City. It was not easy to be promoted from a branch leader to a patrol. He was lucky that he was in Falling Autumn City and encountered the Sword Moon sect. That was why Zhao De must have misunderstood and thought that it was easy to be promoted to a patrol. That was why he did not know how to cherish it. Many branch leaders could not become patrols their entire lives. Li Ruolin was lucky to have gone through a narrow escape before she managed to become a patrol. Zhao De, on the other hand, was ruined with just one sentence. She hated him so much that she wanted to give him 2 tight slaps across his face. Chu Li said nonchalantly, "Senior sister, you're not here to bid farewell to me. Do you know what a stupid thing you've done?" Li Ruolin became even more furious when she saw his nonchalant expression. Her chest rose and fell violently as she said, angrily, "You know what you've done today? I don't want to be a pill-refining master. It's fine to occasionally refine pills. I'd rather die than sit in front of an alchemy furnace all day long." Chu Li said snappily, "What's wrong with that?" Li Ruolin gritted her teeth and said angrily, "Can't you just bear with it? It's not like you're a pill-refining master for the rest of your life, who can do what they like. I have no choice. I can't bear with it. I can only refuse." Chu Li said, "This is good too. I'll be more at ease in Gale City. You can be a branch leader for the rest of your life in Gale City." Li Ruolin said angrily, "It's not bad to be a branch leader for the rest of my life." Chu Li smiled. "I have the final say in Gale City. No one can tell me what to do." "Shut up." Li Ruolin looked around and quickly pulled Chu Li. "Let's go." She glared at Chu Li hatefully. If the saint heard what he said, she would definitely give him the cold shoulder. He would not be able to make a comeback anymore. He was simply shooting his mouth off. The 2 of them left the valley and soon arrived at Chu Li's small light peak. The 2 of them stood in front of the thatched cottage amidst the howling wind and looked at each other. Li Ruolin was furious while Chu Li was indifferent. He looked at her impudently. Li Ruolin could not stand his stare and broke the silence first. "What are you thinking?" "I do what I want to do." Chu Li scoffed. "No one can force me to do what I don't want to do. Not even the saint. Do you think you can convince the saint?" Li Ruolin said snappily, "She's the saint. The saint can't just say whatever she wants." Chu Li said unhappily, "I don't want to be a pill-refining master. You're being unreasonable. You just have to listen to the saint's orders." Li Ruolin scoffed. "If the saint wants you to die, you shouldn't hesitate. Of course, the saint won't give such orders, but you're disloyal to the Holy Church of Light if you don't listen to the saint. Do you know what that means?" Chu Li scoffed. "At most, I'll be sent to Gale City. Is there anything worse? Are you willing to be a branch leader for the rest of your life?" Li Ruolin said, "If it were anyone else, they would have become a branch leader in their past life. You're different. You're a genius in martial arts, and you're good at making contributions. You're destined to be a priest." Chu Li said, "What's the point of being a priest if I have to do something I don't like?" "No one can do as they please in this world." Li Ruolin said earnestly, "Look at the saint. She's so powerful. She can do as she pleases, right?" "No." Chu Li shook his head. Li Ruolin said, "You're quite understanding. Even the saint can't live as she pleases, let alone us. That's why you should be more obedient and cultivate in Gale City. Don't cause any more trouble. I'll find an opportunity to mention you to the saint." Sigh. Chu Li shook his head. "Forget it. Don't mention me. I'm doing quite well in Gale City." Li Ruolin rolled her eyes at him and waved her hand. "Let's go. I'll come and see you." She glided down and stepped on the treetops. Soon, she disappeared into the dense forest. Her green robe blended in with the forest. Chapter 949. The imperial residence of King An was in a state of chaos. The guards and maids were all in a hurry, and there were already more than a dozen horses waiting outside the residence. They were dressed in colorful makeup with exquisite and luxurious saddles. They were all well trained, full of spiritual energy, and rare fine horses. Any one of these fine horses was equivalent to the lifetime expenses of a commoner's family. Chu Li appeared in his room and sat cross-legged on his bed. Lung Qiu and Lung Qing were still practicing their swordsmanship in the courtyard. They were dressed in luxurious gowns and were in high spirits. The life and death scripture was circulating slowly. All the vital energy from the divine light technique in his dantian dissipated, and a towering tree gradually appeared in his mind, the life and death tree. The life and death tree lay in the void of his mind, as if it was connected to an unreachable void. Its roots floated in the void, taking root and using the void as its soil. It was above the four scriptures, as if it was looking down at their operation. After a while, the life and death scripture slowly disappeared. The fist-sized heavenly demonic orb fell like a ripe fruit and landed on his body. The heavenly demonic orb appeared out of nowhere above his precordium, containing a powerful lightning-like force. With a thought, spiritual energy from all directions surged in and flowed according to the heart technique of the cloud slashing power, forming inner energy in the blink of an eye in his dantian. In less than a quarter of an hour, the cloud slashing power in his dantian was full. His cultivation level had recovered, and he was stronger than before. The two women who were practicing their swordsmanship stopped. As they cultivated, their senses became more acute. There was an indescribable comfort in the breeze that blew on their faces. It was completely different from the usual wind. They could not help but activate their inner energy. In the void of his mind, the three-headed Buddha and the heavenly demon were still chanting their respective scriptures. They were no different from Zhao De, the great light scripture, Mahavairocana's immobility scripture, earth matrix and reincarnation scripture, and the heavenly demon scripture were circulating at the same time, continuously strengthening his body. After his cultivation level was fully recovered, his cultivation levels surpassed Fang Qingyang and Mo Qianjun. He was much stronger than before. A turbulent aura spread out like a mountain, and the two women in the courtyard could clearly feel a mountain pressing down on them. Head chief, the two women called out in joy. Chu Li pushed the door open and smiled. What day is it today? The sun was bright, illuminating the courtyard. The hunting ceremony. Lung Qiu tilted her head and looked at Chu Li. Head chief seems a little different. Oh. Chu Li lowered his head to look at himself. Lung Ying said, "Congratulations for your improvement in martial arts." Chu Li nodded and smiled. Not bad. I've gained something from my isolated cultivation this time. The hunting ceremony is just right. You must attend since you're back. Lung Qiu said. Now that Lung Tao has become arrogant again, he has recruited another two grandmasters. The power of the imperial residence of King Cheng has increased greatly. I Lung Clan Lung of residence. He doesn't even dare to do it himself now. Lung Qiu pouted her pink lips. He knows that he's not our match. Clan Lung, man of... He realized that the two ladies were very persistent in practicing their swordsmanship. They stayed in their own courtyard all day long. At first, King An tried to stop them, so they were absent for a few days. However, after that, they would sneak over and ignore King An's attempts to stop them. Chu Li noticed that the two women were obsessed with swordsmanship. They stayed in their courtyard all day. King An stopped them, and they were absent for a few days. But they would sneak over and ignore King An's protests. We must make him unable to lift his head. We must suppress his protectors. Lung Qiu scoffed. Let's see if he dares to be arrogant again. If he's like you, he won't dare to be arrogant in front of you even if he has a master protector. Chu Li shook his head and laughed. Miss Qiu, Miss Qing, it's time. The princess has asked you to depart. A maid came in. All right, let's depart. Lung Qiu smiled. Head chief, let's go. Chu Li smiled. Go ahead. I'll go see the princess. When Chu Li arrived at Tianshu courtyard, he saw Xiao Shi and Xiao Qi walking out. Yang Su and Meng Lan were following behind them. The clothes of the two women were almost exactly the same. They were both dressed in pure white, and their faces were covered by a white veil. Only a pair of beautiful eyes could be seen, and they were extremely charming. You came at the right time. Do you want to join the hunting ceremony? As Xiao Shi walked, her body was graceful like a willow branch brushing the surface of the water. She waved her hand. Let's go for a walk. Sure. Chu Li nodded and looked at Xiao Qi. Xiao Qi's eyes were cold. She nodded at him and continued to walk out. Her upper body was straight, and her posture was elegant. It showed that she came from a good background and was educated. Chu Li shook his head. Lady Xiao Shi's cultivation has improved a lot. I can't compare to you. Xiao Qi said. Chu Li walked to her side, and they walked side by side. It's hard for Lady Xiao Shi to surpass me. It's hard for you to progress in the regal sword scripture, right? Yes. Xiao Qi turned to look at him. You know the reason? Chu Li smiled and said, if you're passionate, you'll forget about it. If you're emotionless, how can you talk about forgetting about it? Xiao Qi frowned and stared at him. Chu Li said, Lady Xiao Shi has been tense and locked her heart. This is loneliness, not forgetting about love. If you don't cultivate properly, it'll be hard for you to achieve much. He had asked son Li Hua about the regal sword scripture. Son Li Hua had nothing to do in the sutra library, so she helped him look for information about the regal sword scripture. Loneliness. Xiao Qi was deep in thought. Xiao Shi smiled at Xiao Qi and glared at Chu Li. You're disturbing little sister's state of mind again. Chu Li smiled. This is real experience. I've spent a lot of effort to find it. You found out about the regal sword scripture. Xiao Shi was surprised. You're really dedicated. Chu Li said, of course. Lady Xiao Shi's regal sword scripture is profound, and it can reach the enlightened master level. However, it's extremely difficult to become an enlightened master. It's better not to hold on to that hope. Xiao Qi glared at him. Xiao Shi smiled. You can't not cultivate it even if you can't become an enlightened master. How many enlightened masters are there in the world? Moreover, enlightened masters can't simply attack. Grandmasters are more useful. They can kill whoever they want. As the three of them talked, Su Ru came out in an apricot gown. When she saw Chu Li coming out, she smiled brightly like a spring flower. The two concubines, Xuan Ningyu and Song Luiying, had already come out and were about to mount their horses. They wore green robes and looked valiant. Together with Lung Qiu and Lung Qing, they looked more like sisters than mother and daughter. It's rare for head chief to come out. Head chief, you've missed a few hunting ceremonies. You're finally back. Xuan Ningyu smiled. Chu Li closed fist saluted and smiled. After coming out of isolated cultivation, I can stay in the residence. Consort Xue is even more elegant than before. Really? Xuan Ningyu smiled. Maybe these two young ladies have saved me a lot of trouble. I don't look old when I'm not so worried. Sister Xiao, shall we depart? Let's go. Xiao Shi nodded. The protectors in front spurred their horses, and the scribes behind followed. They surrounded them as they left the imperial residence of King and headed east. The pedestrians on the street made way for them and looked at them curiously. After a while, they arrived at the east gate. Once they exited the east gate, they saw elite soldiers on both sides of the road. Chu Li and Lung Qiu and Lung Qing were chatting and laughing when they saw a group of people walking slowly in front. Chapter 950. P.S. The 32nd Alliance Leader has been born, Alliance Leader X. P.S. Finally another Alliance Leader. I'm very excited, but my fingernails are inflamed, and I can't stand the pain of typing. My updates aren't good enough. I'm ashamed. I might not be able to update much today. Try your best to write, please forgive me. Lung Tao sat on a tall horse. His plump body straightened, but his head drooped down with an unwilling expression. Beside him were two protectors, one of which was Xiao San. Behind them were four protectors. Chu Li recognized one of them. He was also a grandmaster from Crouching Bull Mountain. It seemed that Zhuge Tian's words were still effective. Xiao San really came. Imperial Crown Prince, look who's behind you. Xiao San saw Xiao Shi and the others. He quickly lowered his voice and said in surprise, Imperial residence of Prince and Sister Lung Qiu. Lung Tao's face brightened and turned his head. He saw Lung Qiu, who was sitting on the horse with her back straight, and instantly revealed a joyful expression. He laughed. What a coincidence to meet Sister Lung Qiu. As he finished, he pulled the reins and turned the horse around to gallop back. In a blink of an eye, he arrived in front of the imperial residence of Prince N's entourage. Lu Xing and the other protectors blocked in front of him expressionlessly. They only blocked the way and did not say a word. Lung Tao stopped his horse and stared at them in dissatisfaction. He waved his chubby white hand. Move, move. I have something to say to Sister Lung Qiu. Lu Xing and the others sat on their horses without moving. The horses also seemed to be rooted to the ground. Lu Xing and the others stared coldly at Lung Tao, especially Zhu Tianhua. His gaze was even colder. Lung Tao saw the tall and burly Zhu Tianhua and said unhappily, Zhu Tianhua, you're a traitor. How dare you stare at me? Imperial Crown Prince Tao, please behave yourself. Zhu Tianhua scoffed. Yo, you're quite brave. Who gave you the courage to talk back to me? Lung Tao glanced at him and scoffed. Did I not teach you a good lesson? Imperial Crown Prince Tao is still as elegant as ever. Chu Li lightly knocked on the horse's belly and took a few steps forward. He appeared in Lung Tao's field of vision and closed fist saluted with a faint smile. Lung Tao's expression changed, and he subconsciously shrunk his body. Previously, he had only been staring at Lung Qiu and did not notice Chu Li. Chu Li had not appeared during several hunting ceremonies. Everyone in Fairy's capital knew that Head Chief Chu was in isolated cultivation and would not appear for a while. Lung Tao did not expect to bump into Chu Li again. Chu Li forced a smile. What business do you have, Crown Prince Tao? Nothing, Lung Tao hurriedly said. Then, he realized that he had shown too much weakness. He coughed lightly and said, I'm just here to say hello to Sister Lung Qiu. We don't get to know each other without fighting. No discord, no concord. Chu Li sized up Xiao San, who was standing beside Lung Tao. Where did you get this guy from? Xiao San scoffed. Chief Chu, right? Our heirs are of noble status. You are just a steward. I don't think you are qualified to meddle in the affairs of the heirs and daughters of the prince's mansion. It is better for you to step aside. Chu Li laughed and shook his head. He's really loyal, and he's got guts too. He turned his head to look at Lung Tao. Crown Prince Tao, is this your protector? Lung Tao scoffed. Although his words are unpleasant to hear, his logic is not bad. Why, I am not allowed to see Sister Lung Qiu. You are only a steward, not the third uncle, right? Crown Prince, You have improved a lot. All right, I will go back and report. Please wait for a while. Chu Li nodded. Thank you. Lung Tao proudly scoffed. He felt that he had finally turned the tables and gained a lot of face. He looked at Xiao San with approval. Xiao San quickly smiled. Chu Li moved the reins and tapped the horse's belly lightly. He turned to Lung Qiu and smiled. Crown Prince Tao seems to have fallen for Miss Qiu. Do you want to see him? Why would I want to see him? Lung Qiu pouted. Lung Qing said, Little sister, scold him when you have the chance. All right. Lung Qiu thought about it and agreed. Head chief, his protector Xiao San is especially annoying. How is he annoying? Chu Li asked. His eyes are shifty. One look, and you can tell he is not a good person. His demeanor is also very presumptuous. Lung Qiu scoffed. It seems like he can take care of us anytime. Looks like he was born in the mountains. Chu Li nodded. He lacks respect for the imperial power. It's all right. Find a chance to teach him a lesson. Lung Qiu smiled. Lung Qing said, Head chief, be careful. This person is sinister and cunning. Chu Li nodded and raised his voice. Lu Xing, let Crown Prince Tao come over. However, he is alone. Yes. Lu Xing and the others' fists saluted. Xuan Yu, Song Luiying, Xiao Shi, and Shao Qi sat quietly on their horses. They smiled as they looked over. The main purpose of the hunting ceremony was for the crown princes and princesses to socialize. They would not interfere easily. Xiao San glared at Lu Xing and the others, but did not cause any more trouble. He fist saluted. Be careful, Crown Prince. Lung Tao took a deep breath and nodded. He looked like he was about to enter the tiger's den. He was anxious. He felt relaxed when Chu Li was not around. Even when Lung Qiu and the others looked at him coldly, he did not feel anything. He did not care if he was scolded or beaten up. However, once Chu Li appeared, he immediately felt uncomfortable, as if he was in danger. Chu Li had hit him a few times. He was traumatized. When he saw Chu Li's smile, he felt a little guilty. Chu Li did not care about Lung Tao. Instead, he looked at Xiao San. Of course, Xiao San did not recognize him. When he was disguised as Zhuge Tian, he asked Xiao San to bring people to the imperial residence of King Cheng. It seemed that he made the right move. Xiao San had gained Lung Tao's trust and became his confidant. The identity of the Crouching Bull Mountain was enough to make King Cheng feel at ease. The prince's mansion only dared to use people like him who were well-known and had a sect. Most of the time, the prince's mansion would reject those with mysterious backgrounds to avoid trouble. Even if they used them, they would only use them once. Lung Tao approached Lung Qiu and Lung Qing. He smiled stiffly and fist saluted. Sister Lung Qiu, long time no see. We met 10 days ago. Lung Qiu said impatiently. Lung Tao, if you have something to say, say it. Don't talk nonsense. Ahem. Lung Tao relaxed. Lung Qiu's expression was normal. He smiled. It's nothing. I just came to say hello. Sister Lung Qiu has become more beautiful. I know, so I'm still talking nonsense. The hunting ceremony this time will be hosted by King Uncle Bao, Lung Tao said. Fourth aunt will be here too. Fourth aunt will be here too? Lung Qiu was surprised. Fourth aunt was King Ping's consort. She rarely left King Ping's imperial residence. Although she had dealings with the imperial residences, she was very indifferent. It was as if she looked down on the imperial residences. Of course, Lung Tao said proudly. It's rare to see fourth aunt. I specially asked around. Humph, you don't have any other skills, but you have a lot of gossip. Lung Qiu scoffed. All right, we have to hurry. We don't have time to chat with you. Move aside. Let's go together. Lung Tao grinned. No need. Lung Chiu waved her hand impatiently. Move aside. Don't block the way. She knocked on the horse's belly and started to move forward. Chapter 9, 51. Chu Li stood by the side and let the horse gallop forward lazily. His mind was on King Ping. Why did Consort Ping suddenly appear? It was obvious that King Ping was behind this. Otherwise, Consort Ping would not have suddenly left the residence. King Ping had always been in an awkward situation. He had made great contributions to the imperial court. Everyone could see that the emperor was hesitant and indecisive, and so were the courtiers. If they let go of the South Mountain and there would be no more wars at the border, King Ping's military power could be removed. However, the situation was getting more and more tense. The Li dynasty was getting stronger and stronger, and it was only a matter of time before a war broke out. If they did not remove King Ping's military power, he would make more contributions once the war started. He would be in a situation where he could not be rewarded and could only be given the title of crown prince. If they removed King Ping's military power, he would not be able to withstand the Li dynasty's cavalry once the war started. Once the border was in a state of emergency, King Ping would have to take action. By then, King Ping's prestige would increase, and no one would be able to stop him from ascending to the title of crown prince. However, the courtiers had chosen King Jing as the crown prince. In their eyes, King Ping was just a martial artist, and it was not a good thing for a martial artist to rule the country. Chu Li pondered as he walked, and unknowingly walked for a few miles. Rumble! The ground shook like thunder. A group of knights galloped to their heart's content, and soon caught up. It's Granduncle Bao. Lung Tao turned to look at the group of knights. Chu Li gestured for the protectors to move aside. As the knights approached, the ground shook even more. Fortunately, the road had been sprinkled with water in advance to moisturize the soil. It was neither muddy nor dusty, so even though the horses were galloping, there was no yellow dust. It was very clean. The leading knight was Prince Bao. He was dressed in purple and did not look old at all when he galloped on his horse. Instead, he was full of energy, and his eyes were like lightning. Nay, Prince Bao was about to gallop away. He usually ignored juniors like them, but he suddenly pulled on the reins. He stopped his horse abruptly. The 8 knights pulled on their horses at the same time. The horses neighed incessantly as they stood firmly on the spot, protecting Prince Bao in the middle. It showed that the 8 protectors were highly skilled and had quick reflexes. Prince Bao laughed. Chu Li, when did you come out of isolated cultivation? Chu Li gave a fist salute and smiled. Greetings, Your Royal Highness. I just came out of isolated cultivation today. All right, let's go together. Prince Bao waved his hand and smiled. There won't be any danger here. You don't have to protect them. Yes. Chu Li smiled. He turned around and made a closed fist salute to Xiao Shi, Xuaningyu, Song Luiying, and the others. Go. Xiao Shi nodded lightly. Xiao Shi and the lady saluted Prince Bao with their fists. Prince Bao waved his hand to indicate that there was no need to be overly courteous. He had no intention of talking to them. Chu Li approached Prince Bao and smiled. Your Royal Highness's cultivation level has improved tremendously. Congratulations. Ha ha. Prince Bao whipped his horse and rode alongside Chu Li. He laughed and said, While you've been in isolated cultivation, I haven't been idle either. The two of them were chatting and laughing as the horses under them trotted forward. The 8 guards were closely guarding them. Lung Tao said indignantly, Granduncle Bao Wang is too biased. He just had to talk to Chu Li? Really? Could it be that Granduncle Bao Wang is looking for you? Why don't you see if you're worthy? Lung Chiu glared at him and scoffed. Humph, Chief Chu is just an outsider. Not only is he not biased towards his own people, but he values outsiders more. How unfair. Lung Tao said, "You're more capable than the head chief." Lung Chiu curled her lips. "If you want to be valued, you need to show your capabilities first. Other than having a body full of fat and eating like a pig, what other capabilities do you have?" "Younger sister Lung Chiu, that's not right. My martial arts is still all right." Lung Tao was unconvinced. "Then, do you want to compete?" Lung Chiu scoffed. Lung Tao quickly shook his head. No matter how strong he was, he would not be able to defeat Lung Chiu. Lung Chiu's swordsmanship had improved by leaps and bounds and was unstoppable. It was truly uncanny. Could it be that she was a genius in martial arts and his aptitude was that bad? He heard from his father that his aptitude was not bad either. Xiosher saw Shao-Chi staring at Chu Li's back and smiled. Prince Bao and Chu Li are friends despite the difference in age. Shao-Chi nodded and looked at Chu Li's receding figure. Chu Li sat on a horse and rode beside Prince Bao as they chatted about the fairy's capital. This time, Madame Ping will be attending the ceremony too. Prince Bao shook his head and sighed. "This is troublesome." Chu Li asked, "Is Consort Ping difficult to get along with?" "That's not it." Prince Bao shook his head. "Although Xian Xiang is a little cold, she has a good heart. It's just that she doesn't like to interact with people and would rather stay in the residence to take care of the flowers and plants. Moreover, her identity is too sensitive. King Jing's wife will be coming too. When that time comes," Prince Bao said with a troubled expression. "I'm not afraid of them quarreling because they don't have the temperament to quarrel. I'm just afraid that the scribes will do something or someone with ulterior motives will stir up trouble. I'm sure the two consorts will restrain their servants," Chu Li said. "I hope so. This is such a tough job, but my brother insisted that I do it." Prince Bao smiled bitterly. "He thinks it's a good job. The Emperor is raising hopes for your Royal Highness to take over the House of Deva in the future, right? You can see that too. The Emperor's intention is very clear." Sigh. Prince Bao shook his head. "I really don't want to be the chief of the House of Deva and offend people. That's not up to you, your Royal Highness." Chu Li smiled. "If the Emperor thinks it's suitable, then it's enough. I can't help it." Prince Bao sighed. "Sometimes I'm quite envious of you. Although you're a chief, you're free and unfettered. You can go into isolated cultivation whenever you want and no one can control you. Unlike me, I'm always busy." Everyone knew about the situation in King An's imperial residence. Even King An could not do anything to him if he was a rank 1 chief. Chu Li could not help but laugh. As the two talked, they had unknowingly traveled more than 10 miles. All of a sudden, the sky brightened up as if another sun had appeared. A door of light appeared in the sky, and there was a faint sound lingering in the air. A beam of white light shot up from Luoyang and into the door of light, disappearing in the blink of an eye. The light gate slowly dissipated, and the sky returned to normal as if what happened earlier was just an illusion. Chu Li frowned, and his face darkened. Prince Bao's face darkened too. He gritted his teeth and scoffed. "The Holy Church of Light," Chu Li said. "Wherever they appear, nothing good will happen." "Damn it," Prince Bao scoffed. "They've already ascended to heaven and achieved great merit. I wonder who they're trying to assassinate this time." Chu Li nodded. Based on the situation, it could be deduced that it was an assassination attempt by a disciple of the Holy Church of Light. As for whether it was a success or not, they were already more than 10 miles away from Fairy's capital. Chu Li's omniscient mirror could not observe them, and could not see clearly. Prince Bao rubbed the area between his eyebrows. "I'm afraid it has something to do with me." Chu Li's expression changed, and he frowned. It can't be Brother Shaoxi, right? Prince Bao turned his head and shouted, Jiahe, go back and take a look. Find out what happened. Yes, Your Royal Highness. A middle-aged protector fist saluted and responded. He leaped down from his horse and disappeared in the blink of an eye like a gust of wind. Prince Bao said, We'll have news soon. Chuli said, I hope they don't stir up any more trouble. He found it strange. Logically speaking, the Holy Church of Light should be fully focused on dealing with the Li dynasty. They should not have the time to care about the Ji dynasty. Why would they stir up trouble again? A moment later, Jiahe appeared in front of the horse like a gust of wind. He fist saluted and said, Your Royal Highness, I've found out that Consort Ping was assassinated as soon as she left the residence. Assassinated? Prince Bao asked. Chapter 952. P.S. I can only write so much for today. It's too depressing. Please forgive me. Dead. Prince Bao frowned. How did she die? He lowered his head. The corpse was shared. I can't save her. Damn it. Prince Bao gritted his teeth. What a vicious move. Someone of Consort Ping's status must have a life-saving spirit pill. Even if she died, as long as it was not more than 2 hours, she could still be saved after consuming it. However, there was no way to share the corpse. Once the corpse was separated, The soul would leave the body and be reincarnated. No matter how miraculous the spirit pill was, it would not be able to recall the soul. Chu Li's face darkened. He had never met Consort Ping, but he had met King An. He could imagine how furious King Ping would be when he heard the news. He might even send his troops. It was said that King Ping and Consort Ping were very close. How could King Ping not avenge Consort Ping's death? Prince Bao turned his head. Chu Li, come with me. Chu Li smiled bitterly. Your Royal Highness, I think I'll pass. After all, this is not a trivial matter. He wanted to go, but it was a serious matter. He might have to keep it a secret from King Ping, who was at the border. If he was the emperor, he would remove King Ping's military power before letting him return to Fairy's capital. Otherwise, with military power in hand, he would not know what he would do in a fit of rage. However, King Ping was well informed. It would be difficult to keep it a secret. Once it was leaked, the emperor would definitely hold him accountable. Anyone who knew about it would be in trouble and investigated. He did not want to get into trouble. He still had to go to Gale's city. If he did not go for too long, the saint would be suspicious. Prince Bao said, "You're already involved. Don't even think about escaping. Let's go." He knew Chu Li's capabilities. He was especially good at dealing with the Holy Church of Light. Chu Li nodded helplessly. The two walked back and met Xiao Shi and the others. Lung Tao was still fawning over Lung Qiu with a cheeky smile. After being taught a few lessons by Lung Qiu, he felt that Lung Qiu was pleasing to the eye. He felt comfortable playing with her. Even when Lung Qiu scolded him, he did not mind at all. The psychological advantage that he had grown up with Lung Qiu was still there. This was not love between a man and woman. After all, they were blood relatives. It was more like friendship. Seeing them walking back, Lung Tao was confused. "Granduncle Bao, why is he back? It can't be an invitation, right? Dream on." Lung Qiu snorted. Prince Bao and Chu Li walked side by side. In the blink of an eye, they had arrived in front of them, but they did not stop. Instead, they galloped forward. Lung Tao's hand froze in midair as he turned his head to look. Chu Li waved his hand and gestured for them to continue walking. Lung Qiu turned and glared at Lung Tao. "Let's go." Xiao Shi and the others were in a heated discussion. They did not know what had happened. Seeing that Chu Li did not say anything, Xiao Shi knew that it was a confidential matter. Otherwise, he would have come over to inform them and then followed Prince Bao. What actually happened? Xuaningyu asked curiously. Why did he suddenly run back? "Don't worry about it for now. Let's continue to the enclosure," Xiao Shi said. Chu Li and Prince Bao rode their horses through the east gate. They did not dismount from their horses, but galloped along the main road in the center of the city. The central street was bustling with activity. It was paved with blue stone, clean and tidy. The horses' hooves gave off a crisp sound as they stepped on the blue stone. "Pedestrians, make way!" Prince Bao's protectors shouted loudly. "His Royal Highness is in front of you. No one is to stop him." They were all people with profound cultivation levels. Their shouts were deafening. The pedestrians hurriedly made way for them. Chu Li and Prince Bao passed by as if they were walking in the sea. They galloped to King Ping's imperial residence in the west of the city in one go. Outside King Ping's imperial residence, more than 10 protectors in black stood with their hands on their swords. They guarded the entrance with tense expressions and a faint murderous aura. When they saw Prince Bao and Chu Li dismount from their horses, 2 protectors in black stepped forward and said, "The imperial residence is a restricted area. Please stay." Chu Li glanced at the 2 of them and asked, "Qi Meng, Zhao Liang, who's inside?" He immediately recognized these protectors in black as secret guardians from Secret Guardians Hall. He had a photographic memory and knew the names of every secret guardian he had seen. Centurion Chu, one of the protectors in black, said, "Commander Su has personally come. Inform him that this is Prince Bao," Chu Li said. The secret guardian, Chi Meng, was a middle-aged man with thick eyebrows and big eyes. He quickly nodded and went in. Su Huanda came out in a hurry. His originally stern expression became even more unpleasant. He came to the entrance of the imperial residence and gave a fist salute. "Greetings, Your Royal Highness." Prince Bao waved his hand. "How's the situation?" "Your Royal Highness, please come in and talk." Su Huanda looked at Chu Li. "Centurion Chu, you came just in time. I was just about to look for you." Chu Li nodded. The three of them crossed the tall threshold of the imperial residence and stepped into the spacious front hall. The thick smell of blood hit them in the face and did not dissipate. The blood puddles on the ground showed the tragic battle earlier. Su Huanda brought the two of them to the main hall. There were 12 corpses in the main hall. Most of them did not have any external injuries. Their faces were golden with a hint of green. They were completely dead. The princess's corpse has been placed in the coffin. "It's not appropriate to look at it," Su Huanda said. "Centurion Chu, take a closer look and see which sect did this." Chu Li looked at the 12 corpses and sighed as he shook his head. "The divine light fist is very profound. It's not an ordinary disciple of the Holy Church of Light. It really is the Holy Church of Light." Su Huanda clenched his teeth. Chu Li said, "Looking at the injuries, there's only one person." "Yes," Su Huanda said. "Consort Ju was about to leave the residence when this fellow from the Holy Church of Light suddenly rushed out and killed the consort with a single slash of his sword. After that, under the relentless attacks of the protectors, he performed the Holy Church of Light's secret skill and killed 12 protectors. These protectors were top-notch masters from the military. Each of them killed people like scything flax. However, they were all killed by this person. In the end, this person achieved perfection and stepped into the light boundary." Chu Li sighed. "Perfection is when the secret skill of the scripture of great light is activated to the extreme. Moreover, these military masters can easily stimulate the potential of the Holy Church of Light's disciple and force him to achieve perfection." Sigh, "This is troublesome." "It's very troublesome," Su Huanda said. "I've already blocked the news. However, there are too many people, and they're outside the imperial residence. I'm afraid it'll be very difficult." Prince Bao said, "What did the emperor say?" "The emperor hasn't given any instructions. I've just reported it. The murderer has already passed away. We can't pursue him anymore. This is too frustrating." Su Huanda shook his head. "That's why we can't tell King Ping." Prince Bao scoffed. Chu Li said, "Your Royal Highness, with King Ping's ability, there's no way he can hide it. I'm guessing the news has already been sent out. It'll reach King Ping soon." "What should we do?" Prince Bao frowned. "King Ping is young and impetuous. I'm afraid he'll get into big trouble." Chu Li nodded slowly. It was easy to guess what King Ping would do when he was furious. Chu Li said, "Commander Su, there's something fishy about this. From what I know, the Li dynasty and the Qiu dynasty are entangled with each other. They can't spare any attention to deal with us. Assassinating Consort Ping at this time is obviously to provoke King Ping and make him send out his troops." "Centurion Chu, do you think it's not the Holy Church of Light?" Commander Su asked. Chapter 953. Qiu Dynasty. "It must be the Qiu dynasty's doing." Prince Bao's expression was grave as he said coldly. Chu Li said, "Your Royal Highness, based on my understanding, the Qiu dynasty is arrogant and doesn't take the Li dynasty seriously. They might not resort to such tactics. They want to defeat the Li dynasty fair and square, because they think that the Li dynasty isn't a true cavalry. That's how the imperial court of the Great Ji dynasty sees it, but their martial arts sects might not be obedient. Prince Bao sneered. They are used to seeing themselves as scholars of the nation, interfering with the politics of the imperial court and manipulating the world. Chu Li nodded slowly. If that was the case, it made sense. What else do you have in mind, Centurion Chu? Su Huanda said, Tell me all at once. Chu Li shook his head and said, I'm worried about the Fu dynasty or the Zheng dynasty. They might make a move too. The Holy Church of Light has never had any traitorous disciples. This isn't something an ordinary force can achieve. It might not be a betrayal. Prince Bao shook his head. The Holy Church of Light hates King Ping to the core. Killing his consort can be considered an act of revenge. Chu Li furrowed his brows. Wives and children should not be implicated. Life and death on the battlefield depends on one's own abilities. That's what you think, but not everyone thinks so. Prince Bao said, as long as there's a little encouragement. Your Highness, this kind of person can't be persuaded with just a little encouragement. Chu Li shook his head. To be able to kill 6 protectors in one go, he's not a nobody in the Holy Church of Light. 6. Prince Bao looked at him. Su Huanda was a little embarrassed. Chu Li sighed. The other 6 committed suicide. He could tell at a glance, but he didn't want to point it out. Su Huanda could tell as well. Sigh. Prince Bao shook his head. How can King Ping not be furious when he finds out? These protectors were obviously loyal to King Ping. They were ashamed of themselves for not being able to protect the princess consort, and were too ashamed to face King Ping. Hence, they decided to kill him as an apology. Chu Li sighed and remained silent. Su Huanda also shook his head. The atmosphere became heavy, and the bright sunlight could not dispel the chill in the hall. Get out of the way. A deep voice rang out, followed by hurried footsteps. Su Huanda's face darkened, and he turned his head to look. The burly King Jing, who was dressed in court attire, hurried over. His face was as dark as steel, and he looked extremely imposing. He strode into the main hall and gave a fist salute. Greetings, Uncle King. 6th brother, what are you doing here? Prince Bao frowned. I heard that 4th sister-in-law had an accident. King Jing's expression darkened. Has she been saved? Prince Bao sighed. The body has been decapitated. How can we save it? King Jing's eyes flashed. He clenched his fists so tightly that his veins popped out. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. If you don't move, don't blame me for being impolite. A loud shout came from outside, followed by the sound of footsteps. The stout Prince Chung swaggered in, stepping over the screen. He turned his head and glared at him, saying hatefully, a dog who uses his master's power to bully others. He swaggered into the main hall. When he raised his head and saw that Prince Bao was there, he quickly put away his expression and cupped his fists respectfully. Uncle Bao, what are you doing here? What are you trying to do? Prince Bao said coldly. Prince Chung hurriedly said, I heard that Seesaw was attacked by an assassin. If I don't come and take a look, wouldn't I be too heartless? Look, 6th brother is here too. He glanced at Chu Li from the corner of his eye and scoffed to himself. Kingen was not able to come over. He was busy recovering his martial arts all day and did not do any proper work. Yet he still wanted to fight for the position of crown prince. What a joke! Chu Li did a fist salute and did not say a word. Prince Bao waved his hand and said impatiently, You're just causing trouble by coming. If there's nothing else, go back. Uncle Bao, I want to ask those protectors, how did they protect Seesaw? Prince Chung said loudly, We usually treat them well, but at the crucial moment, we can't let them off easily. We must make them pay for what they did to Seesaw. They're all dead, Prince Bao said coldly. All dead. Prince Chung was stunned. Su Huanda said in a low voice, "Your Royal Highness Prince Chung, there were a total of 12 protectors. 6 of them died in battle, while the other 6 committed suicide. This group of people has some guts." Prince Chung smacked his lips and scoffed. "What's the use of them dying? Their lives are not as precious as seesaws. You should stop talking." Prince Bao said coldly. Prince Chung gave a fist salute and replied, "Yes." He stared at Su Huanda with his big eyes. "What's the use of you secret guardians? Didn't you receive any news beforehand? Are you deaf and mute? You have so many eyes and ears, yet it's useless?" Su Huanda was speechless. He sighed. "It's our negligence." King Jing had been silent all this while, trying his best to suppress his anger. He could not hold it in any longer and scoffed. "The Secret Guardians Hall is getting worse. You were able to solve some big cases a while ago, but these few months, you've done nothing. It's time for you to reflect on yourselves." Su Huanda's face darkened, and he said, "Nothing." Theoretically, the princes, and even Prince Bao, had no right to criticize the Secret Guardians Hall. The Secret Guardians Hall only answered to the Emperor and did not care about anyone else. They did not even hesitate to investigate the princes. However, this matter was the Secret Guardians Hall's responsibility. They did not notice the assassin in advance and did not receive any news. Every Grandmaster who entered Fairy's capital was under the surveillance of the Secret Guardians Hall and the Imperial House protectors. Yet, they did not notice the assassin. The Holy Church of Light's secret skill to conceal their martial arts was so powerful that they were helpless against it. Chu Li did not say anything. He could understand the source of King Jing and King Cheng's anger. The fox grieved for the rabbit's death. Everything grieved for its own kind. If Consort Ping was assassinated so easily, it would not be difficult for them to assassinate them as well. It was as if there was a sword hanging above their heads, ready to fall at any moment. King Jing asked, "Can we find out who the culprit is?" Su Huanda shook his head. "He has ascended to heaven and entered the great light surpassing state." King Jing's cheeks puffed up as he secretly gritted his teeth. "In other words, he killed 4th sister-in-law and has ascended to heaven?" King Chung yelled. Su Huanda nodded bitterly. Be ****. King Cheng's eyes widened in anger. He stomped his feet and cursed, "That be ****." This was too depressing. The assassin had killed 4th sister-in-law, helping him to achieve great merit and ascend to heaven. 4th sister-in-law's death had become his stepping stone. He was now living freely in the great light surpassing region, but they could do nothing about it. "Lower your voice." Prince Bao said coldly, "Do you think you can make him come down by shouting? 4th sister-in-law, you died so tragically. You're so pitiful." King Chung yelled at the sky. "Shut up." Prince Bao yelled. If this news were to spread, it would only cause panic among the people. King Chung could only shut his mouth and did not dare to show his dissatisfaction. "I don't believe that he's alone. He has no accomplices." King Jing said coldly, "Could it be a personal grudge and there's no mastermind? Can the Secret Guardians Hall find out who the mastermind is?" "It must be the Li dynasty." King Chung scoffed. "The Holy Church of Light's disciples haven't betrayed them yet. It must be the Li dynasty who did it." King Jing glared at him. "Ninth brother, use your brain. Then it must be the Qiu dynasty." King Chung said hurriedly, "They took the opportunity to provoke us to deal with the Li dynasty and reduce their pressure. Find the mastermind and give 4th brother an explanation." King Jing said in a low voice, "The Secret Guardians Hall can do that, right?" Chapter 954. 2 middle-aged guards from the Imperial House strode in. They were dressed in purple robes, and their auras were as heavy as mountains. Every step they took caused the ground to tremble. It was as if two giant elephants were strolling in. When they arrived at the front of the main hall, their gazes swept across the crowd before they said in a deep voice, "The Emperor has spoken, Su Huanda from the Secret Guardians Hall." Su Huanda walked down the stairs and cupped his fists as a salute. "I'm Su Huanda." A middle-aged protector raised his voice and said, "Order the Secret Guardians Hall to immediately investigate the case of Consort Ping's assassination. Find out who the mastermind is within 3 days." "Yes." Su Huanda cupped his fists and said in a deep voice. Another middle-aged Imperial House protector said, "During the investigation, no matter who it is, you don't have to worry. You must find the mastermind within 3 days. If there's any delay, the Secret Guardians Hall will be held responsible." "Yes," Su Huanda said in a deep voice. The two middle-aged Imperial House protectors saluted Prince Bao with their fists and turned to leave, ignoring King Jing and King Cheng. King Cheng pursed his lips, dissatisfied with their arrogance. King Jing, on the other hand, was extremely calm. He only stared at Su Huanda. Prince Bao sighed. "Commander Su, you're in trouble." Su Huanda smiled bitterly. "This is our dereliction of duty, so we can only try our best to make up for it. Centurion Chu, you'll have to handle this personally." Chu Li gave a fist salute without hesitation. "It's my duty." "Humph, how arrogant." King Cheng glanced at him disdainfully. Chu Li looked at King Cheng. "Does King Cheng think that I can't find anything? Do you really think that there's no case that you can't investigate?" King Cheng curled his lips and said, "The person is gone. Where are you going to investigate?" Chu Li asked, "Commander Su, what did the murderer leave behind?" "A treasured armor and a blade," Su Huanda said. He pointed to the corner of the wall. Chu Li walked over and picked up the unusually soft and tough golden singlet. It looked like it was woven from golden threads, but the golden threads were definitely not this tough. He held the singlet between his palms and clasped his palms together to strike them. "It is indeed a treasured armor," Chu Li said. "It was able to weaken the palm force by 60 to 70%. For a peak expert, this was like facing an expert 2 levels lower. This isn't something that just anyone can have." Su Huanda sighed. "As far as I know, this is made from the silk of the fairy spider. The fairy spider is unique to the Qiu dynasty and can't be found anywhere else." "Humph, it really is the Qiu dynasty." Prince Bao sneered. Su Huanda said, "But you shouldn't have taken out something that could easily reveal your identity. Also, this saber is no ordinary saber. It's a treasured saber made by the Royal Saber Palace, and it can truly cut through iron as if it were mud." Prince Bao frowned. He did not dare to say that it was definitely the Qiu dynasty, as the flaw was too obvious. King Cheng said, "Don't tell me it's on purpose so that we won't suspect the Qiu dynasty, and will think that someone is framing the Qiu dynasty?" "That's possible." Su Huanda nodded. Chu Li picked up the treasure blade and looked at it. Then he turned his head and said, "Commander Su, shall we take action?" "I'll go with you," Su Huanda said. Chu Li nodded and gave a fist salute. Royal Highness Jing, Royal Highness Cheng, let's go and catch the accomplice first." "I'll go too." Prince Bao scoffed. "I'd like to see who exactly harmed fourth daughter-in-law." "All right." Chu Li nodded slowly. "But Your Royal Highness, please don't ask too many questions and don't speak." "No problem." Prince Bao agreed without hesitation. King Cheng wanted to go too. Before he could speak, Chu Li said, "Royal Highness Cheng and Royal Highness Jing, please help us deal with the aftermath. We'll be back soon." "Go," King Jing said in a low voice. King Cheng glared at him resentfully. Waving his hand to dismiss the protectors, Prince Bao followed Chu Li and glided away. They left the main road and entered small alleys. under the all-seeing divine power, the owner of the treasure armor, and the treasure blade were like a torch in the dark night, clearly visible. Soon, the three of them arrived at a residence. Chu Li leaped over the wall and arrived at the bedroom. An old man was lying motionless on the bed. He was already dead. There was an overturned wine pot in front of the bed. It was obvious that he had drunk poison wine. Chu Li took out a spirit blessing pill and stuffed it into the old man's mouth. Then, he quickly patted the old man's body a few times. Prince Bao did not say anything, but he guessed that this old man was the accomplice. Otherwise, he would not have committed suicide. What a resolute man! Su Huanda picked up the old man's wrist and checked his pulse. After a cup of tea, Su Huanda nodded. He's alive. Chu Li said, leave the rest to the public house. They're better at it. Leave it to us, Su Huanda said coldly. If he wants to die, it won't be that easy. He sealed the old man's acupuncture point and carried him on his back. Chu Li said, Commander Su, I'm not needed for the rest. I won't be returning to the public house. Su Huanda nodded. All right, you be careful too. Chu Li fist saluted. Su Huanda fist saluted Prince Bao and glided away. King Cheng looked at Chu Li's disappearing silhouette and scoffed. He really thinks he's invincible, the first chief of Fairy's capital. King Jing frowned. Don't speak ill of people behind their backs. Sixth brother, this brat is too arrogant. We need to teach him a lesson. King Cheng said, let him know his place. Didn't he just beat Lung Tao up twice? King Jing said, you've spoiled your son too much. He deserves to be beaten. If he didn't, I was prepared to find a chance to teach him a lesson. If you continue to spoil him, he'll definitely cause big trouble. No matter what, young Tao is still an imperial crown prince. Who does Chu Li think he is? He's just a protector. King Cheng scoffed. He's rank 1, higher than all of us. King Jing said. King Cheng scoffed, but did not refute. The rank system was the foundation of the Ji dynasty. It could not be shaken. Even princes had to respect it. Both of them were born into good families, but their ranks were not high enough. While they were talking, Chu Li and Prince Bao returned. Prince Bao entered and said, Sixth brother, ninth brother, I need to continue hosting the hunting ceremony. I'll leave this place to you. Uncle Bao, you're back so soon. Did you find your accomplice? King Cheng asked. Yes, Prince Bao said. I've handed him over to the secret guardian's hall for interrogation. I think we'll have news soon. Chu Li, let's go. Chu Li nodded and fist saluted King Jing and King Cheng. He then left the imperial residence with Prince Bao. King Cheng stared at them blankly. King Jing shook his head and summoned the scribes and maids. He ordered them to do everything in an orderly manner. He was smart and capable. Prince Bao and Chu Li rode side by side at the front of the group. The 8 protectors followed closely behind them. They were tense, and their eyes swept around to guard against assassinations. Consort Ping's death was a lesson to be learned. They could not let their guard down for even a moment. How miraculous! Prince Bao exclaimed. He was filled with emotion when he saw how easy it was for Chu Li to find his accomplice. Chu Li said, Your Royal Highness, it's just a small trick. It's not worth mentioning. It's not worth mentioning. You're too humble. Prince Bao shook his head. It's not luck that you've made such a name for yourself. I can see that Su Huanda values you a lot. A tall tree attracts the wind. The 2 commanders are afraid that I'll be in the limelight and become the enemy of all the secret guardians. That's why they asked me to go into isolated cultivation. Chu Li shook his head and smiled bitterly. I didn't expect to encounter this as soon as I came out of isolated cultivation. Even God won't let you go. Prince Bao laughed. His heavy heart was relieved. Although the fairy's capital was not stable, there was still a strange person like Chu Li. There was no need to worry too much. They went out of the east gate and galloped their horses. They soon caught up with Xiao Shi and her group. Chapter 9:55. Chu Li bid farewell to Prince Bao and returned to Shao Qi's side. What happened? Xiao Shi covered her face with a white veil and stared at him with her deep, bright eyes. Chu Li shook his head. You'll know when you get back. It's better not to say. Qiao San. Lung Tao, who had been listening attentively, raised his voice and shouted. Imperial Crown Prince. Qiao San was following behind the protectors of King An's imperial residence and was only 10 steps away. When he heard Lung Tao's call, Qiao San quickly went forward and fist saluted. Imperial Crown Prince, what can I do for you? What happened in the town? Lung Tao scoffed. This Qiao San was meticulous in his work and knew how to serve others. He was exceptionally quick-witted and did everything without any instructions. It was as if he was an extension of his arm. He was very useful. Qiao San looked around with a troubled expression. There's no one else here. Just say it. Lung Tao scoffed. Qiao San lowered his voice. I heard that Consort Ping was assassinated. Chu Li looked at Lung Tao helplessly. Lung Tao cried out, Fourth An is dead. Yes. Qiao San nodded. How is that possible? Lung Tao was in disbelief. The protectors of King Ping's imperial residence were very strict. Those protectors were experienced generals who were better at killing people than martial arts masters. Yet they could not protect Consort Ping, and was killed. Qiao San lowered his voice. That's what the news says. Lung Tao looked at Chu Li. Head Chief Chu, is it true? Chu Li looked at the ladies whose expressions had changed. Why do you have to say this? It'll affect everyone's mood. Who, the F*CK, still has the mood. Lung Tao shouted. Chu Li said impatiently. She's dead, but we still have to live our lives. People die every moment in this world. So, she's really dead? Lung Tao asked. Chu Li nodded. Dead. Lung Tao mumbled in disbelief. Dead. He had always thought that he was far away from death, since he was the descendant of the emperor. Consort Ping's death was like a flood that rushed toward him. It turned out that death was so close to him. Xiao Shi sat on the horse lazily and said, It's just an assassination. Look at you. Lung Qiu and Lung Qing were in a daze at first, but when they heard Xiao Shi's clear voice, they snapped back to reality. It was not the first time that the consort had been assassinated, but she was still alive and well. Therefore, assassinations were not that scary. The guards of the prince's mansion were strong enough. Lung Tao raised his head to take a look and met Xiao Shi's deep and bright eyes with a faint smile. He blushed and turned his head away. Xiao Shi turned her head towards Chu Li. Who did it? Chu Li said, I can't say for sure now. I'm still investigating. How dare you? Aren't you afraid of King Ping's revenge? I know, right? Xiao Shi looked at his perfunctory expression. It was obvious that he did not want to talk about it. She rolled her eyes at him and did not ask any more. Chu Li and Prince Bao stood on top of the tower. He gazed at the distant battle between the cavalrymen on the prairie. Before Lung Tao could come back to his senses, a small mistake was seized by his opponent, and he was utterly defeated. Prince Bao could not stop shaking his head as he watched. Footsteps were heard. A protector in black went up the tower and went up the stairs. He was a secret guardian from the secret guardians' hall. Chu Li turned to look at him. Qi Meng. Centurion Chu, this is a letter from Commander Su. Chi Meng handed over a letter with both hands. Chu Li took it. Thank you. Chi Meng took a step back. Chu Li quickly scanned the letter and passed it to Prince Bao. Prince Bao's face darkened after he read it. It's them. Chu Li took the letter and gently rubbed it into powder. He sighed. I didn't expect it to be them. He turned to look at Chi Meng. Thank you for your trouble. Tell Commander Su that I got it. Chi Meng, don't let anyone know that you sent me this letter. There was never this letter. You're here because Commander Su summoned me back. Yes. Chi Meng fist saluted and retreated to the staircase. He then turned around and went down the stairs, riding his horse and galloping away. Both of them held onto the exquisite railing that was carved with flowers and plants. They looked at the prairie in silence. Gusts of wind blew. Prince Bao's purple robe and Chu Li's white robe fluttered. After a while, Prince Bao said, Do you think the Emperor will hide this news from King Ping? How can we guess the Emperor's thoughts? Chu Li shook his head. But from what I can see, the Emperor doesn't plan to fight on two fronts. It's already hard enough to deal with the Li dynasty. If he starts a war on another front, the country won't be able to handle it. In the end, yes, Prince Bao sighed and shook his head. It'll be hard on King Ping. If the Emperor keeps this from King Ping, he's afraid that the father and son will turn against each other. Chu Li frowned. Only the three of us know the truth now. Including the Emperor, there are only 4 of us. If King Ping finds out one day, we won't be able to escape responsibility. No one knows if the Emperor will vent his anger on us. I'll advise my brother to be honest with King Ping. Prince Bao nodded. Even if the Emperor did not vent his anger on him, he would lose the Emperor's favor. The consequences would be severe, so he had to nip it in the bud. Chu Li, you should enter the imperial court and become an official. You'll definitely rise to a high position. Prince Bao smiled. Chu Li was meticulous and sharp. He could always predict danger in advance and eliminate it. If he entered the imperial court, he would be like a fish in water. Chu Li smiled. I'm just a martial artist. How can I become an official in the imperial court? I prefer to be free and unfettered. Prince Bao nodded. That's true. Once you become an official, you'll be tied to a rope. Now that the Li dynasty and the Qiu dynasty are going to fight, do you think we should take advantage of the situation and teach the Li dynasty a lesson? I think we should fight, but we don't have to fight too fiercely. It'll be enough to distract some of the troops so that the Li dynasty won't be able to focus on the Qiu dynasty. Won't that benefit the Qiu dynasty? If we don't fight, the Li dynasty will benefit. We have to choose the lesser of two evils. The Li dynasty is no match for the Qiu dynasty. Even if we don't take advantage of them, they'll still lose. They might even be destroyed by the Qiu dynasty. Your Royal Highness, don't forget that there's still the Fu dynasty. Chu Li shook his head. They won't allow the Qiu dynasty to destroy the Li dynasty. The Fu dynasty, Prince Bao gritted his teeth and scoffed. They're a **T stirrer. Chu Li smiled and nodded. The Fu dynasty regarded themselves as the leader of all the countries. In order to prevent the other 4 countries from challenging their position, they had been sowing discord and not allowing 2 neighboring countries to have a harmonious relationship. Otherwise, they would not be able to sit still. Once 2 or even 3 countries joined forces, the Fu dynasty would not be able to withstand it no matter how strong they were. Even if they could win, their vitality would be greatly damaged and the losses would outweigh the gains. Prince Bao sighed. This is the sorrow of a weak country. However, we don't have to worry about these things. Let the Emperor worry about it. We'll just listen to his orders. Chu Li nodded. Given their status, they could not decide these things. They could only talk about it. When the hunting ceremony ended and Chu Li and the others returned to King En's imperial residence, everyone in the city knew that Consort Ping had been assassinated. Everyone was panicking. If Consort Ping could be assassinated, who would be safe? On the other hand, King En's imperial residence was as stable as usual. They had experienced many assassinations. Whether it was the various martial arts sects of the Ji dynasty or the Li dynasty's Holy Church of Light, they had all come to King En's imperial residence, but none of them had succeeded. After lunch, Chu Li was talking to Shao Qi and Xiao Shi in Tianshu courtyard. He told Xiao Shi about Consort Ping's assassination and how a few protectors had committed suicide, which made Xiao Shi feel rather sad. Suddenly, Zhu Tianhua's voice was heard from outside. "Head Chief, there's a protector with the surname Qi who wishes to see you." "Let him in," Chu Li said. A moment later, Qi Meng, who was dressed in black, strode in and gave a fist salute. "Greetings, Centurion." Chu Li waved a hand. "What's the matter?" Qi Meng looked around. Chapter 956. He closed fist saluted Shao Qi and Xiao Shi. The two ladies waved their hands. He brought Qi Meng to his courtyard. Lung Qiu and Lung Qing participated in the hunting ceremony and went back to rest. There was no one in the courtyard, and it was very quiet. "Speak." Chu Li turned to face Qi Meng. "Commander Su has left the fairy's capital. Before he left, he told me to tell the Centurion that I will follow you from now on." Qi Meng looked around and lowered his voice. Chu Li frowned. "Left the fairy's capital?" "Yes, to guard the imperial mausoleum." Qi Meng nodded. Chu Li's face darkened. "What else did Commander Su say?" Qi Meng shook his head. "He didn't say anything else. He just told me to inform the Centurion that you will understand. You will be in Mei Air courtyard from now on." Chu Li nodded. "Where's the commander?" "The commander seems to have gone out for something and hasn't returned." "Commander Su didn't tell anyone. He left quietly and only told me to inform the Centurion," Qi Meng said. Chu Li's expression calmed down. I understand," Qi Meng said. "Commander Su also told me not to tell anyone that I went to deliver the letter." Chu Li shook his head and sighed. "There's no need. Since the emperor was so careful, he wouldn't care whether or not Commander Su wrote a letter to him. Since there was a connection, he would conclude that he knew about this matter. However, he might not make a move against him. It was enough to use Commander Su to warn him." Qi Meng said, "Don't worry, Centurion. I won't tell anyone. Be careful. If word gets out that Commander Su went to guard the imperial mausoleum, you will lose your life." Chu Li said, "Go." "Yes." Qi Meng's expression changed. He closed, fist saluted, and left. Chu Li slowly walked to Tianshu courtyard. Xiao Shi looked at him with concern. Xiao Qi's eyes were calm, but she stared at him. "What happened?" Xiao Shi asked. Chu Li explained the situation, and the two women's faces darkened. Xiao Shi frowned. "Why don't you pretend to be sick and say that you went astray during cultivation? You need to go into isolated cultivation to recuperate. It's useless." Xiao Qi said, "Just act like usual. Don't do anything or you will feel guilty." "I'm worried about Commander Su." Chu Li shook his head. "The emperor will silence them?" Xiao Shi frowned. Chu Li said, "Who knows? I really don't understand the emperor's temperament." "No," Shao Qi replied. "This is too disappointing. After all, Commander Su isn't an ordinary secret guardian." "I hope so." Chu Li sighed. The tree of life and death appeared once again. The heavenly demonic orb hung on its branches and slowly disappeared along with the tree. All of his inner energy had disappeared and dispersed outside his body. Then the inner energy of the divine light technique began to rise inside his body. He had recovered about half of it. The next moment, he appeared outside Gale City. As the sun set, he stepped into the East City Gate and slowly walked along the bustling street to the Radiance clan. The two huge stone lions in front of the Radiance clan were lifelike. Their imposing manner deterred people from approaching them. Two strong guards stood side by side with the huge stone lion, their eyes sharp and fierce. When Chu Li arrived at the bottom of the stairs, two protectors stepped forward and stared at him. "Unauthorized personnel, please step back. Do not come any closer." Chu Li took out a metal tag from his pocket and showed it to the guard. The two protectors were stunned and quickly gave him a fist salute. "Please wait, distinguished guest. I'll go in and inform you immediately." When Chu Li first built the Radiance clan, he had made this metal tag. The word Radiance was written on one side of the tag, and the word Zhao was written on the other side. Those who held this tag were distinguished guests of the Radiance clan and should not be neglected. Ko Chiong hurried out and gave him a fist salute. "Young master, you're finally here." Chu Li waved his hand to indicate that there was no need to be so polite and entered the main door. Ko Chiong humbly bowed and followed behind him, which shocked the two protectors. Ko Chiong knew that Chu Li did not like to be ostentatious and kept a low profile, so he led him to the main hall and personally served him a cup of tea. "Young master, if you didn't come, we'd have to ask you for help. These people are too much." Chu Li frowned. "Flaming Sun sect. It's those B** stars." Ko Chiong said angrily. "They're robbing our people. As long as we recruit someone, they'll immediately poach him. Is there no way to deal with them? We can't possibly go against them, can we? We're weak and can't overpower them." Ko Chiong said. Chu Li asked, "What about the other two sects?" "The White Tiger sect is quite obedient, and the Tian Luo sect is good too. It's just that the Flaming Sun sect is disgusting." Ko Chiong said angrily, "They just won't fall out with us." Lu Xiaofeng even came over to explain that they're also short of people and that we should compete fairly. Chu Li slowly nodded. "All right, it's fine if we can't recruit anyone." Ko Chiong was surprised. "Young master, are you just passing by, or are you going to stay here?" "I'm staying here." Chu Li scoffed. "The saint sent me here for a while. I'm going to cultivate in isolation, so don't disturb me if there's nothing important." "That's great." Ko Chiong clapped his hands excitedly. Chu Li glared at him coldly. Ko Chiong quickly chuckled. "Now, we have a backbone. With young master around, we have nothing to fear. We couldn't defeat the Flaming Sun sect before, so we could only endure it. This time, if they dare to mess with us again, we'll show them what we're made of. From today onwards, the Radiance clan will be changed to Gale Branch." Chu Li said, "We won't recruit anyone below perfected innate mastery." "Quality over quantity. Yes." Ko Chiong nodded excitedly. Chu Li waved his hand. "Hurry up and find me a place to cultivate in isolation and prepare a table of good dishes." "All right." Ko Chiong energetically summoned a young man and instructed him. Both of them arrived at an elegant courtyard that was only 3 residences away from the Radiance clan. They could reach it in the blink of an eye. "This is our original residence." Ko Chiong smiled. "Young master, are you satisfied with it?" "It's all right." Chu Li nodded. "This is it. Don't disturb me if there's nothing important. If I'm not here, I'm just going out for a stroll. Don't make a fuss." "Yes, yes." Ko Chiong quickly nodded. He finally understood that young master had been sent away to live a carefree life with no one to care about him. Soon, a table of dishes was served. Chu Li could tell at a glance that it was the work of the 9-star Tower's chef. He nodded in satisfaction. Coach Young was the best at this. As he lowered his head to eat, he suddenly looked up. Li Rulin floated down from the courtyard wall. Her green tunic fluttered, and the white veil on her face swayed. Chuli looked at her in surprise. "Senior sister, you're here so soon? I'm here to give you something." Li Rulin scoffed. She took out a jade flute from her sleeve and gently blew it. Instantly, 3 flute sounds were heard. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew, and a pigeon-like bird descended from the sky. It was snow-white and flawless, and its eyes were lively. It stood on Li Rulin's shoulder and stared at Li curiously. "This is a sky patrol pigeon. You can use it to communicate with the Church of Light," Li Rulin said. "The saint will send a letter directly if she has any instructions." Sky patrol pigeon. Chuli looked at the bird and smiled. "How does it taste? If you dare to hurt it, you'll be chased out of the Great Light Peak." Li Rulin scoffed. Chuli nodded. "All right, I'll treat it like a treasure." Are we supposed to just let him do whatever he wants? He's the deputy commander. Doesn't the commander have to beg you, Centurion? Chuli laughed. "You're more arrogant than I am. We're the Centurion's men." Yang Zongwen smiled. "But Centurion, are the results of the assassination of Consort Pingout?" Chuli shook his head. "I've only captured her. I don't know what the results are. Don't you know the rules of the Secret Guardians Hall? Don't ask about things that you shouldn't. It won't do you any good." "Yes," Yang Zongwen answered solemnly. He immediately understood that this was not a trivial matter and that it was very dangerous. Chuli waved his hand. "Go, tell everyone not to go against the new deputy commander." "Yes," Yang Zongwen said. "I'll tell everyone to be more obedient." "Okay," Chuli replied. Yang Zongwen tactfully bid farewell and left. Chuli sat by the stone table and pondered. Guyu had targeted him as soon as he arrived. He wanted to find out more about his background. Su Huanda's face was as cold as steel, but he was a fair person who would not trip up others. He was a good superior that was hard to come by. Fu Mengshan was sly, cold-blooded, and merciless. He only cared about benefits. As long as he was capable enough, he would protect him. However, Fu Mengshan was now avoiding Guyu. There must be some inside story behind this, and Guyu had to ask him about it. In the main hall of the Secret Guardians Hall, a tall and slender figure sat on the armchair in the middle of the hall. He wore a luxurious purple robe and had an ordinary appearance. He seemed to be in his 60s, but his eyes were bright and piercing as if he could see through one's heart. He was staring coldly at him. Liang scoffed. "Is Centurion Chu here?" "Commander Gu, Centurion Chu isn't here yet." Liang shook his head. "Centurion Chu doesn't usually attend the morning roll call. If he's here, he'll go straight to Mayer Courtyard. He usually doesn't come here." "Humph, is he really the Centurion of the Secret Guardians Hall?" Guyu scoffed. Liang said, he's also the head chief of King An's imperial residence. He has a lot of trivial matters, so he rarely comes here. He'll only be summoned when there's a case, and he's needed. It seems like the commander is very accommodating to him. Guyu scoffed. Liang nodded. Yes, both the commander and Commander Su are accommodating to him. That's why the people in May Air Courtyard are so arrogant. They usually don't care about us. Very well. Guyu scoffed. Liang said, Commander Gu, be careful. Centurion Chu's subordinates are all elites. Although they're arrogant, they have the right to be. Commander, you're new here, so it's best not to offend them. I'd like to see how arrogant he really is. Guyu said faintly, how long has it been since he came to the Secret Guardians Hall? Oh, about half a year, I guess. Liang said. Guyu sneered. Chapter 9, 59. P.S. The 33rd Alliance leader has been born, Huan Yizhang. P.S. I wanted to add more chapters today, but the more I wanted to write, the more I couldn't. My head hurts. When Liang arrived at May Air Courtyard, he saw Chu Li drinking tea at the stone table in the courtyard. There were some files on the stone table. He was drinking tea while reading the files with a focused expression. Yang Zongwen stood at the side to serve him. The rest of the people were training in the martial arts field. It was bustling with noise, and laughter could be heard from time to time. The May Air Courtyard had the most grandmasters, and this was publicly acknowledged by all the secret guardians. Moreover, these grandmasters were extremely loyal to Chu Li. After all, they were all saved by Chu Li, and he had given them a new lease on life. Liang sighed to himself. This kind of luck was something that no one could be envious of. If he had so many grandmasters supporting him, he could also do whatever he wanted in the Secret Guardians Hall. No one would care about him, and he could do whatever he wanted. Brother, Yang Zongwen fist saluted. Chu Li looked up. Greetings, Centurion Chu. Liang fist saluted and smiled. It's been a while. Centurion Chu, you look better than before. Congratulations. What's the matter? Chu Li nodded. Liang said, Commander Gu wants to see you. Sit down and talk. Chu Li pointed at the stone bench opposite him. Liang was helpless. He could only sit opposite him and move his butt uncomfortably. Chu Li's eyes were bright, as if he could see through his thoughts. Your May Air Courtyard sure is free. Liang smiled. I really admire you. You can come to May Air Courtyard too. Chu Li said. Liang shook his head. I'm not that lucky. Chu Li said, what does this new Commander Gu want? Nothing. May Air Courtyard is too quiet. Liang said happily. I think it's a waste. There are so many grandmasters who only eat and don't work. How can I get used to it? He doesn't know about the situation in May Air Courtyard. Chu Li asked. Liang said, I've said it before. A new leader brings his own ministers. He's new, so he wants to change the rules. He's eager to make everyone listen to him. Chu Li muttered. Does he mean to make our May Air Courtyard move? Yes. Liang nodded. Chu Li asked, is there anything else? He's also very curious about you, the famous Chief Steward Chu. Liang smiled. Chu Li nodded. All right then, I'll go and pay my respects. Liang cupped his fists and smiled. Please. He knew how powerful Chu Li was because he had personally witnessed Chu Li's rapid rise from a secret guardian who was ostracized to a centurion in less than a year. Therefore, no matter who became a commander or a deputy commander, they would not be able to suppress Centurion Chu. Yang Zongwen looked at Chu Li worriedly. Chu Li waved his hand. It's not like it's a dragon's lair or a tiger's den. Maybe Commander Su was too impatient and used too much force. That shouldn't be. Chu Li was still confused. He frowned. With the spirit blessing pill's effect, even the most severe interrogation wouldn't be fatal. If that's the case, Guyu was also confused. Is there something else? Most likely. Chuli said, could it be that Commander Su got some information that he shouldn't have? Then, he saw that the situation was bad and could only protect himself. It can't be someone from the Ji dynasty, right? His expression changed as he looked at Guyu. Guyu's expression changed as well. He quickly waved his hand. Don't talk nonsense. Chuli said in a low voice, it's possible. King Ping has a lot of achievements in the war and has worked hard, but he's also envied by others. If someone does something to consort Ping, and King Ping finds out, what will happen? The world will be in chaos. Centurion Chu. Guyu hurriedly waved his hand. Shut up. He strode to the entrance of the main hall and looked around before waving his hand. You may leave. There were 2 protectors outside the main hall. They quickly fist saluted and left. Guyu's expression changed as he returned to his seat and glared at Chu Li. Chu Li's expression darkened as well. He seemed to be angry that he had guessed the truth. Guyu sighed and said, You'll lose your head if you speak like this. You mustn't speak carelessly. Chu Li coldly said, Commander Su is really unlucky. Fortunately, I didn't participate in the interrogation and didn't know the details. Otherwise, as a centurion, I would have to guard the mausoleum with Commander Su. Chapter 960. Chu Li said, I didn't think about all of this, but after being enlightened by you, Commander Gu, I suddenly thought it through. It seems like I'm really not suited to be a servant in the Secret Guardian's Hall. I might as well resign from my post as a Secret Guardian and be an honest head chief. There's still a lot of work to do in the Imperial residence. Ever since King and left the Imperial residence, I have to make decisions for everything. It's really a mess. On top of that, I've been in isolated cultivation for a while now and accumulated a lot of work. Please don't. Guyu quickly waved his hand. You're an elite of the Secret Guardian's Hall. Chuli shook his head. Elite is just a title. Being a Secret Guardian is so dangerous. I'll have to guard the Imperial Mausoleum or even lose my life if I come across any news. It's better for me to be a head chief. Hee hee. Guyu chuckled. Centurion Chu, you're worrying too much. How can there be so many dangerous things in this world? I'm guessing that Commander Su didn't find out who the mastermind was. Instead, it was because he couldn't find out who the mastermind was. The Emperor is extremely furious over Consort Ping's assassination attempt. Since Commander Fu isn't in Fairy's capital, the blame can only fall on Commander Su. Really? Chuli frowned and hesitated. Guyu smiled. I'm from the Imperial House, so I know about this. That's good. Chu Li let out a long sigh of relief. He secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Guyu wanted to see if Chu Li knew about Commander Su's confession. If he did, he would have to silence him. As a centurion, he did not receive the same treatment as a deputy commander. He could not guard the Imperial Mausoleum even if he wanted to. He felt a chill down his spine. The Emperor really treated his courtiers like ants. He killed a rank 1 like him without mercy. Previously, he had thought that with his current level of cultivation and power, he would be able to protect himself. Now, it seemed like he was too naive. In the Emperor's eyes, a mere centurion or even the head chief of King An's imperial residence was not worth mentioning. Even the youth champion was insignificant. The Emperor could kill him whenever he wanted. He had to obtain more power and strive to reach the enlightened mastery's boundary as soon as possible to protect himself. Otherwise, his life and death would be in the hands of the Emperor. It was a terrible feeling. At this moment, his heart was surging with anger and motivation. He wanted to seize even more power at all costs, cultivate even faster, and reached the heavenly god realm. Heavenly deity realm. Now, it seemed like he had some hope of becoming a deity. There were almost no opponents in the younger generation, but if he wanted to become a deity, he would need to become a heavenly deity. He couldn't wait that long. He had to find a way to defy the heavens and become a god. Guyu had finally passed this hurdle. Fu Mengshan hid in a corner and did not come out at all. Guyu's background was unknown. When he returned to Mei Air Courtyard, everyone surrounded him. Chu Li waved his hand. "All right, go do what you have to do. Don't worry." Dong Qifei said, "Centurion, did that Guyu come looking for trouble?" "No." Chu Li shook his head. "But he'll come looking for trouble sooner or later. Be careful. It's nothing. We'll just pretend to be sick." Dong Qifei scoffed. "If he's sick, do you expect us to insist on taking attendance? Don't go overboard." Chu Li shook his head. "You can't be too domineering. You'll anger everyone." "Yes." Dong Qifei nodded helplessly. "We'll be careful," Yang Zongwen said. "He doesn't want to use us to establish his authority." Chu Li laughed. "It's not that serious, but you have to be careful of his little tricks. I'll go back first." "Yes." Everyone fist saluted. Chu Li waved his hand and left the secret guardian's hall. He returned to his courtyard in King An's imperial residence and disappeared. Su Huanda was in a green robe. He was wielding a long sword. He was sweating profusely. His face was pale, and there was a long wound on his left shoulder. He was being attacked by 4 masked men in black. The force of the blade was like a storm. The long sword was like a light screen protecting his body. Su Huanda's swordsmanship was extremely high. Although he was at a disadvantage, he did not collapse. He was struggling to hold on. Not far from them were 2 masked men in black. They were injured by Su Huanda. They lay motionless on the ground. It was unknown whether they were dead or alive. However, Su Huanda paid the price for injuring the 2 masked men in black. His inner energy was exhausted. He was like an arrow at the end of its flight. He could not hold on any longer. He sighed as he waved his sword. These 6 masked men in black had extremely high swordsmanship. They did not seem to be from any faction in the martial arts world. They were most likely Imperial House protectors. Could it be that the Emperor could not help but kill him? He could not accept it. He was not willing to die here. Suddenly, his body swelled up like an inflated balloon. His aura surged again, and the saber that was originally stuck in his chest shot out. Blood spurted out, but he quickly stopped the bleeding with a few moves. It was as if he had not been injured at all. His aura was astonishing, and his eyes were like lightning. With a wave of his hand, the sword nearby flew into his hand. He used the secret technique. He won't be able to hold on for long. The 4 masked men in black looked at each other. At this moment, the bright sunlight shone in the forest and on their bodies. Their black clothes were as black as ink, and their gleaming eyes were especially cold. The 4 masked men in black rushed up to attack Su Huanda. The saber gleams were more intense than before, but under Su Huanda's sword gleams, their saber gleams were overshadowed. Initially, they didn't want to use the secret technique because there would always be repercussions. However, it seemed like they had to use it now. Therefore, they performed the secret technique one after another. Their aura changed drastically, and the saber gleams became brighter, able to compete with the sword gleams. For a moment, the 2 parties were in a stalemate again. The saber gleams whistled, and the sword gleams sizzled. Time passed unknowingly, and they were still in a stalemate. As time passed, all of them lost their strength. Their sword movements became slower and weaker, and their saber movements became limp. Ugh! One of the masked men in black was stabbed in the chest and fell down. The other 3 were enraged. They raised their spirits and attacked fiercely again. This time, Su Huanda had completely used up all his strength. He wanted to dodge, but he was powerless. Chi! A saber slashed his chest, and a long wound appeared on his chest. It looked like a baby's mouth, and blood gushed out instantly, drenching his clothes. Ah! Su Huanda roared angrily. He wanted to swing his sword again, but he was powerless. He could only lean against a tree and slowly slide down. His legs could no longer support his body weight, and he was sweating profusely. The 3 masked men in black finally let out a sigh of relief. White steam was rising from their bodies, and they had no strength left in their hands. The saber seemed to be as heavy as 1,000 pounds, and they couldn't lift it at all. It was difficult for them to even take a step forward. Their secret technique had reached its limit, and their bodies were extremely weak. It seemed like they couldn't even lift a finger. "Let's go, finish him off," one of the masked men in black said in a deep voice. The 3 of them surrounded Su Huanda, who was sitting on the ground. Su Huanda leaned against a tree and stared at them coldly. "At this point, you still don't want to tell us who's the mastermind. You can guess." One of the masked men in black shook his head. "We'll never tell you." "Humph," Su Huanda said coldly. Chapter 962. P.S. Update complete. What a sin. Su Huanda remained silent. He guessed that the 6 masked men were Imperial House protectors sent by the Emperor. Moreover, they vaguely felt familiar, as if he knew them. He often entered the Imperial House and was familiar with many protectors. It was possible that he knew them. He did not expect these acquaintances to come to kill him. How sad! The sudden surge of thoughts made him feel sad and sorrowful. He didn't expect that his loyal and devoted self would end up like this. Everything was like a dream. Once the Emperor wanted to kill him, he would not have a chance to escape. He would die sooner or later. "You shouldn't have saved me." Su Huanda shook his head and sighed. "I can't escape. It's really the Emperor." Chuli frowned. "It can't be. If he wanted you dead, why did he have to do it halfway? It's safer to do it in the Imperial Mausoleum. I'll contact more people and leak the news once I'm in the Imperial Mausoleum." Su Huanda scoffed. He was ready to risk everything. Since he was going to die sooner or later, there was nothing to worry about. Chuli said, "It's better to clarify things. Let me ask them." He then removed the black masks of the 6 masked men one by one, revealing their faces. Su Huanda's expression changed. Chuli smiled. "They're all acquaintances. Commander Su, you don't recognize them?" Su Huanda's face was so dark that it could drip water. He glared at them. Their acupuncture points were sealed, so they could only watch as their masks were removed. These people were secret guardians from the Secret Guardians Hall. He suddenly realized why they looked familiar. He did not expect them to be secret guardians, so he always thought they were Imperial House protectors. Chuli said, "Tell me, who sent you here? Could it be Commander Fu?" "Yes." One of the men in black nodded. Chuli laughed. "I know it's a lie. If it's not the commander, it must be the deputy commander." "Deputy Commander Guyu?" The 3 of them shut their mouths. Chuli turned to look at Su Huanda. Su Huanda took a deep breath and sneered. "Guyu," Chuli said, "Commander Gu is really resourceful. She's trying to get rid of me. She's afraid that you'll be reinstated. Isn't she?" Su Huanda slowly said, "That might not be the case. He might have guessed the Emperor's thoughts, so he wants to please the Emperor. Without His Majesty's orders, would he dare to kill a deputy commander? Even if the Emperor doesn't want to kill me, if I'm killed by him, then so be it. After all, I'm an eyesore now." Not necessarily. Chu Li shook his head. So what if he's not? After all, he's dead and can't be resurrected. At most, Guyu will be reprimanded, but he won't lose the emperor's favor. Where did this Guyu come from? Chu Li furrowed his brows. I only know that he is a descendant of a family of generals. His father died on the battlefield. How did he receive the emperor's favor? Chu Li smiled bitterly. He's really blessed. Su Huanda shook his head and sighed. It can't be helped. There's no point in being envious. Comparisons were odious. Guyu was born with wealth and was even more carefree than the princes. The princes had to work hard to fight for the position of crown prince, but Guyu did not have to do that. As long as he did not do anything stupid, he could live a carefree life. On the other hand, people like Su Huanda and Chu Li had to struggle and work hard to climb up bit by bit. It was not easy for Su Huanda to climb up to this position. One mistake, and he would fall back down. On the other hand, Guyu did not have to do anything to replace him. Chu Li said, I'll escort you to the imperial mausoleum. He won't dare to do anything once we get there. Forget it. Su Huanda shook his head. Don't worry about me. Chu Li said in a low voice, Am I supposed to watch you get killed? Su Huanda said, If Guyu knows that you're involved, he'll do anything to kill you. Chu Li smiled. I won't let him know. Don't I have a mask? Su Huanda laughed. I didn't expect that mask to come in handy now. Back then, he had given Chu Li a fog beast mask that could change his identity. Other than him and Fu Mengshan, no one else knew about this. Moreover, others might not be able to describe the appearance of the fog beast mask, so Fu Mengshan would not know about it. Let's go. We need to move as soon as possible before anything bad happens, Chu Li said. He grabbed Su Huanda and dragged him by the sleeve as they glided away. As for the 6 people lying on the ground, they soon died without a sound. It was a warning to Guyu. These 6 people deserved to die since they did not hesitate to kill their old superior, Su Huanda. Chu Li had no pity for them. However, these 6 fellows were all grandmasters. Guyu, the newly appointed deputy commander, did not know how to explain to Fu Mengshan that they had died for no reason. However, Fu Mengshan did not dare to ask him to explain anything either. Guyu had always been this unscrupulous. Chu Li was extremely fast. After rushing for a day, he settled down in a small town in the evening. Chapter 963. P.S. The 34th Guild Master has been born, Guild Master Alpine Goat. He looked at Tianshu Courtyard and saw Xiao Shi and Xiao Qi playing chess. The place was as bright as day, and the 2 ladies' faces looked like 2 pieces of white jade under the light. They were so exquisite and beautiful that people could not take their eyes off them. Chu Li did not disturb them. He returned to Gale City in a flash and sat in his house to cultivate. He was thinking about how to obtain the white tiger power. The sun-cultivating white tiger portrait was only the foundation of the white tiger power. Only by cultivating the sun-cultivating white tiger portrait would one be able to cultivate the white tiger power. The white tiger power had not been able to display much of its power in the hands of the white tiger sect. Although it was not as powerful as the Great Light Scripture, it was not that the white tiger power was weak. It was just that the spiritual energy of the world was too weak, and it was no longer suitable to cultivate this set of techniques. However, if he were to cultivate this technique on Spirit Crane's Peak and cross-reference it with the Crouching Bull insight, he would be able to become an enlightened master once he cultivated it to perfection. However, this path was easier said than done. It was countless times more difficult than becoming the #1 youth expert. With his current cultivation level, he could suppress Fa Yuan, Lu Yurong, and the one from Feng Huang Mountain. If the Titanium Temple did not participate in the fight, there was still hope. However, The Tempest Temple had a deep foundation, so it was not impossible for them to increase Fa Yuan's power and suddenly become stronger than him. Green Deer Cliff's background was still unclear, and Lu Yurong could also increase her power at any time. It would not be easy to surpass them and obtain the first place, but it was still much easier than cultivating the Crouching Bull insight to perfection. It was a pity that he could only become a deity and not a deity. The will of the heavens was hard to go against, and there were too many restrictions placed on him. If he obtained this kind of heavenly deity, he might as well not become a heavenly deity. The only thing he could do now was to learn the white tiger power first. Guards! He raised his voice and shouted. A young maid called Shao Jie answered in a crisp voice. Yes, young master. Get Coach Xiong here. Yes. Not long after Shao Jie left, Coach Xiong knocked on the door softly. Young master, come in and talk, Chu Li said. Coach Xiong pushed open the door and approached Chu Li's bed. He gave a fist salute and bowed. Young master, what can I do for you? What's the situation in the Roaring Tiger clan now? Chu Li asked, are there any disciples from the White Tiger sect around? Ever since you left, young master, the original White Tiger sect disciple of the Roaring Tiger clan has left. He'll have achieved his goal by destroying our May-Air courtyard. However, if you guys have to leave Fairy's capital to do something, he'll let Qin Jin and the others deal with you. Qin Jin and the others are grandmasters and have contributed a lot. He can't do anything to them. Yes. Yang Zongwen hesitated. Chu Li said, as a centurion, I'm going into isolated cultivation at a crucial time. If I leave you guys behind, it'll be enough to make you angry and disappointed. Then, you'll seek refuge with him. Yang Zongwen quickly said, how is that possible? Chu Li smiled. It's highly possible. People will believe it if I tell them. I'm the first to be heartless, so I can't blame you guys for being unjust. Guyu will also be skeptical. We'll talk about it when I come out of isolated cultivation. When will the Centurion come out? That depends on luck. Chu Li smiled. I'll only come out when I encounter a case that I can't solve. Yang Zongwen smiled. Chu Li said, there's another piece of news. The Holy Church of Light is planning to assassinate King Ping. Visit Commander Fu personally and tell him about it. Keep it away from others and don't tell anyone else. Yes, Yang Zongwen replied. Chu Li waved his hand. Go. How you deal with Guyu will depend on your abilities. We'll deal with it. Yang Zongwen smiled. Don't worry, Centurion. If there's a problem, send someone over immediately. I'll save them, Chu Li said. Yes. Yang Zongwen fist saluted and left. Chu Li pondered. He wondered if Guyu would send someone to kill Su Huanda. If he did, would he send Qin Jin and the others? Chapter 9:65. Chu Li bid farewell to Shao Qi and Xiao Shi at Tianshu courtyard and was about to leave. Xiao Shi called out to him, what have you been busy with these 2 days? I haven't seen you around. Chu Li asked, does Second Lady have any instructions for Consort Ping's case? Let's go over there to play. Xiao Shi gave him a look. Chu Li looked at Xiao Qi. Where's Lady? Xiao Qi replied, it's good to go and take a look. Chu Li smiled. All right, we'll go tonight. Xiao Shi smiled. I've been eating other fruits for the past 2 days, and I feel like they're tasteless. It's so troublesome. Don't forget that you can't leave for a few days at a time. Xiao Qi said, those fruits are very beneficial to my body. My skills have improved a lot. They have such a magical effect. Chu Li smiled. He had eaten those fruits before and found that they had little effect. Then he remembered that it was Xiao Qi's first time eating them, and her body was far weaker than his. The fruits were very nourishing for her body, but since his body was so strong, the nourishment was dispensable. When night fell, he brought the two ladies to Spirit Crane's Peak and played for half the night. Then he brought them back to the residence and went to Gale's city. Not long after he returned, Ko Cheong appeared beside him. "Young master, it's ready. You can move in any time." Chu Li nodded. "Bring me there." Ko Cheong did not say anything else and brought Chu Li out of the residence. At night, Gale's city was like a city that never sleeps. Although it was already past midnight, it was still brightly lit, and there were many pedestrians outside. They passed through a few alleys and arrived at a simple courtyard. The surroundings were very quiet, and there were only a few lanterns hanging in the alleys. The residents here were not wealthy, so it was not worth 1,000 taels of silver. Ko Cheong brought Chu Li into the slightly narrow residence and said embarrassedly, "Young master, what do you think of this courtyard? Although it's a little small, it's quiet and no one will disturb us." "Not bad." Chu Li nodded in satisfaction. In his mind, he had already seen the Roaring Tiger clan. It was only a street away, which was about 100 meters. It was a rare place for him to observe the thoughts of the people in the Roaring Tiger clan. Ko Cheong smiled. "As long as you're satisfied, young master." "All right, you can go. Don't wait for me," Chu Li said. "I'll go back after I eat. Don't let anyone come here." "Understood," Ko Cheong answered, cupped his fists, and left. Chu Li walked around the residence with his hands behind his back. There were a total of 3 small courtyards: the front hall, the inner courtyard, and the backyard. Although they were not big, they were cleaned in an orderly manner, exuding a strong sense of life. Throughout the entire process, he had been keeping an eye on the Roaring Tiger clan that was 100 meters away. He saw a handsome and cold young man practicing martial arts in a small courtyard. Under the moonlight, he saw that the young man was practicing the white tiger killing skill. Its power was extraordinary, and it was only slightly inferior to that of the white tiger sex elder. His cultivation level was also slightly lower than the white tiger sect elders, but it was already extremely rare for him to reach such a cultivation level at such a young age. He could even be considered a genius. How many levels of the white tiger power did this genius possess? He began to activate his inner energy in the small courtyard, circulating it according to the mental cultivation method of the white tiger killing skill. All of a sudden, a vague silhouette of a tiger appeared between his palms, and with a sudden jolt of his mind, it was as if he had been pulled into the silhouette of the tiger. With a push of his inner energy, the silhouette of the tiger shot out and moved according to his will. Wherever his mind went, the silhouette of the tiger would chase after it, as if it was playing with his mind. It revealed a hint of playfulness, which surprised Chu Li greatly. He did not expect the white tiger killing skill to be so mysterious. He did not activate it with his mind, but rather he guided it with his mind. Chu Li's mind changed several times, and the silhouette of the tiger chased after him a few times as well. Just as it was about to disappear, it suddenly lost control like a drunkard and crashed into the rockery next to it. With a muffled bang, 2 rocks fell from the rockery. The white tiger killing skill was quite powerful, and it was very effective when used against an unexpected enemy. Only those who knew the ins and outs of the white tiger sect could have a chance of avoiding it. If they were to encounter it rashly, they would definitely be hit. He practiced the white tiger killing skill a few more times before he finally nodded in satisfaction. He watched as the young man returned to his house. He drank some tea and calmed his breathing before he sat cross-legged on his bed and began to cultivate his inner energy. Chu Li immediately activated the omniscient mirror and looked into the young man's mind. A gigantic and majestic tiger appeared in his mind, its long fur fluttering like a flag dancing in the wind. The clouds followed the dragon, and the wind followed the tiger. The tigers forsook like the turbulent waves of the sea, emitting a powerful aura. Every rise and fall was frightening. The tiger began to make movements in his mind, and the inner energy in his body moved along with the movements. It seemed that the inner energy was coordinating with the tiger's momentum, making the tiger's pounce or tail scissor more powerful. Chu knew that this was the white tiger power. The white tiger power did not seem special on the surface. All he had to do was sit cross-legged and cultivate, but his mind was in turmoil. A ghastly aura was faintly discernible on his body, as if he himself had turned into a tiger and was about to make these movements. Chu imitated and replayed the movements in his mind, trying to remember every movement. The movements of the tiger were rather slow, so Chu slowly followed and practiced with it. Before he could practice 20 tiger movements, the young man's spirit was already exhausted. He slowly lay down and immediately fell asleep. Chu shook his head, helplessly. This young man was too weak. He was already so tired from just a few movements. He muttered to himself, thoughtfully. After a while, he suddenly got off the ground and left the courtyard. He followed the tiger's momentum in the young man's mind and began to assume the posture of a tiger. Then he urged the heart technique and realized that he was right. This kind of cultivation was much better than meditating. He smiled. After repeating it a few times, a pure inner energy surged out. This speed was very shocking. Could it be that he had created it himself, and no one in the huge white tiger sect had studied it for so many years? That shouldn't be the case. He quickly figured out the reason. It was not that others did not think of it, but it was useless even if they did. No one could multitask like him. He visualized in his mind, followed his movements, and urged his inner energy. This was completely different from the heart technique of martial arts. It was abnormally complicated, and he had to do 3 things at once. Moreover, he had to have a pure mind. He realized that this kind of cultivation was very fast, but in the end, he would still have to sit cross-legged and meditate. He had been cultivating the white tiger power until dawn, and then he hurriedly took a nap. The next morning, he met up with Su Huando again and continued on their journey. As for the young man in the Roaring Tiger clan, he was not in a hurry to finish his cultivation. He would probably stay in the Roaring Tiger clan. The rest of his journey with Su Huanda was smooth. 5 days later, Su Huanda's injuries recovered, and they arrived at the Imperial Mausoleum. Chu did not appear at the Imperial Mausoleum. He bade farewell to Su Huanda from afar and promised to visit him again if he had the chance. Su Huanda arrived without a hitch, but Chu Li's cultivation was not so smooth. He realized that this young genius's level of the white tiger power was very shallow. If he cultivated with him, he did not know how long it would take for him to completely master the white tiger power. It seemed like he had to think of a way. In the evening, he returned to Gale City and went straight to Ko Chiong's house. Ko Chiong soon heard Xiao Jie's report and hurried over. Chapter 967. That's right. Guyu nodded and looked at Liang approvingly. You're the cleverest. Centurion Chun is up to no good by recommending Centurion Chu. Liang shook his head. He's indebted to Centurion Chu, but he views Centurion Chu as his enemy. This is a trap for Centurion Chu. Guyu said, I know they don't get along. That's why Centurion Chen's words can't be trusted. Liang said, in my opinion, the Mei Air courtyard, where Centurion Chu is not around, is indeed not as elite as the Mei Yi courtyard. We still have to put pressure on the Mei Yi courtyard for this case. They are still very powerful. All right, tell Qin Donghai to catch the murderer within 3 days, or he'll be held accountable. Guyu said. Liang gave a fist salute. Yes. Guyu looked up at Yang Songwen. Yang, what do you have to say? I disagree. I agree with you. Yang Songwen shook his head. Centurion Chun is up to no good by recommending Centurion Chu, but it's also the truth. We all know Centurion Chun. He's a dog and is very protective of his food. If he can solve the case, he'll do anything to get it instead of pushing it away. They're not confident, and it's useless to force them. Gu Yu asked, does that mean Chu Li is the only one who can solve this case? Yang Zongwen nodded slowly. I know Centurion Chu's ability best. No one can solve this case. Only Centurion Chu has a glimmer of hope. There's no need to waste Centurion Chen's time. We should invite Centurion Chu back. The problem now is that we can't invite Centurion Chu back. Liang scoffed. Yang Zongwen said, I think Centurion Chu has no choice but to meet Commander Gu. I'm here? Gu Yu scoffed and shook his head. How dare he? Yang Zongwen hurriedly said. Commander Gu, this isn't the time to talk about face. We might have face in front of Centurion Chu, but we'll lose face in front of His Majesty. I'd rather be humiliated in front of His Majesty than be humiliated in front of Chu Li, Gu Yu said coldly. Yang Zongwen sighed and shook his head. Liang said, this Centurion Chu is really too much. He's forcing Commander Gu to lower her head. Yang Zongwen sighed and said, Centurion Chu is proud and arrogant. There's nothing we can do about it. He's in closed-door training right now. What can we do to him? Humph, Gu Yu sneered. I'll personally meet the Emperor and ask him to take charge of this case. Let's see if he'll obey the order. Liang hurriedly said, isn't this a big deal? I'm not afraid of blowing things up. I don't believe I can't suppress him. Gu Yu scoffed. Since you said that Chen Donghai can't solve this case, then don't let him. I'm going to the palace now. With that, he turned around and strode away. Liang glanced at Yang Zongwen. Yang Zongwen shook his head, helplessly. Now that things had developed to this point, it was out of his control. It was beyond his imagination. He did not expect Gu Yu to be so capricious. The old Imperial House Protector laughed. The middle-aged Imperial House Protector said, Princess Sio, are you giving us a hard time? So what if I'm giving you a hard time? Sio sure said angrily, so what if I'm giving you a hard time? Censure? Sincerity? Si yi huizhong? Si yi hang? Huizhong? Huizhong? All right, we'll read it. It's the same if the princess passes it on. The old Imperial House Protector smiled. He was old and had a mild temper. He knew Sio Shi's temper and nature very well. She was not afraid of anything and was not inferior to men. More importantly, she had a strong foundation. As a lady of the House of High Dukes, no matter how much trouble she caused, the emperor would not blame her. Sio Shi said angrily, I can't even see him. How am I supposed to pass it on? Is Chief Chu not coming back? He went out to find a place to isolate himself. He said he wanted to stay away from the mundane affairs. Sio Shi said, it's to avoid the trivial matters of the imperial house. How can we find him? The two of them were hesitant. The middle-aged Imperial House Protector's face was pale. He had never seen someone so arrogant. She did not give them any face, and even rejected them impatiently. It was despicable, but there was nothing he could do about it. The old Imperial House Protector smiled. No matter what, since we're here, we can't just go back without reading it. Let's do it first. Whatever you want. Sio Shi said impatiently. If you want to read it, then hurry up. All right. The old Imperial House Protector opened the bright yellow Imperial Edict in his hand and said loudly, the edict is to order the secret Guardians Hall's Centurion Chu Li to immediately start investigating the case of the Feng family's annihilation. The murderer must be apprehended within 10 days without delay. Unfortunately, Zhao De had returned to the Great Light Peak and was not here. Hence, Chu Li could not have a good fight with him and had no chance to kill him. Without Zhao De, he would be the king of Gale City, and no one would be able to threaten him. All of a sudden, a sense of foreboding rose in his heart, and the tipsy feeling disappeared all of a sudden. The inner energy in his body surged, and he activated the White Tiger killing skill with all his might. He was extremely talented in cultivating the White Tiger killing skill, and it was far better than the White Tiger power. Ko Chiong and the other two rushed out of the darkness. Roar! 3 tiger roars sounded almost at the same time, facing the 3 people. Ko Chiong and the other 2 were slightly flustered. They did not expect their sneak attack to turn into a sneak attack. Initially, they had looked down on Zheng Tianhe as his cultivation level was just average and could not compare to any of them. However, to play it safe and not mess up their young master's orders, the 3 of them attacked at the same time. It was like a lion fighting a rabbit with all its might, so they could not help but look down on him. They did not expect that the rabbit would strike first when they wanted to attack the rabbit. They were flustered and barely managed to dodge the White Tiger killing skill. Before they could catch their breath and counterattack, another 3 tiger silhouettes entangled the 3 of them. This time, they were even more flustered. Their solid cultivation level allowed them to dodge the tiger silhouettes at the last moment, even though they were in a sorry state. However, the 3 tiger silhouettes appeared again, and this time they were hit. Zheng Tianhe did not let them off easily. Another 3 tiger silhouettes appeared and hit them squarely. They lay on the ground and could not get up. Once the White Tiger killing skill was hit, its power was shocking and it caused severe damage to one's body. Zheng Tianhe, we're from the Radiance clan. How dare you kill us? Lu Shu sat at the foot of the wall and raised his head to shout. Be careful. Our young master will settle the score with you. Humph, the Radiance clan. Zheng Tianhe looked down at the 3 of them and sneered. I didn't cause any trouble for the Radiance clan, but the Radiance clan came to me first. Very well. He released another 3 tiger silhouettes. Bang, bang, bang. Ko Chiong and the other 2 flew up from the ground and crashed heavily into the stone wall of the alley. The blood they spat fell on the wall, but it was only visible under the moonlight. Bang, bang, bang. The 3 of them landed on the ground. Their bodies spasmed, and they were already exhaling more than they were inhaling. Zheng Tianhe looked at the 3 of them condescendingly and sneered. Zhao De killed the elders of the White Tiger sect, so I'll kill the people of the Radiance clan. Let's see if he has the ability to kill me. Ko Chiong and the other 2 were annoyed and angry as they glared at him. They could not believe that they did not manage to figure out this fellow's background. He had delivered himself to their doorstep, but he had been pecked in the eye by the eagle. Zheng Tianhe looked at them indifferently. Will the Radiance clan disband without you guys? But don't worry, I'll make it disappear even if it doesn't. Ha! When Zhao De returns and sees the Radiance clan disappearing, he'll be able to feel our pain. He'll definitely come looking for me, right? You're no match for our young master. Ko Chiong wiped the blood from his mouth and said reluctantly. Zheng Tianhe said indifferently, why did I come here? To kill him. Do you really think that Zhao De can suppress the White Tiger sect? It's just that he hasn't sent an expert yet. What a joke. You, Ko Chiong gritted his teeth. How arrogant. You want to kill our young master with your abilities? Dream on. Oh, you can think whatever you want. You'll be dead anyway. It's a pity that you won't be able to see it. Zheng Tianhe shook his head calmly and put his palms together. 3 tiger silhouettes appeared again and attacked Ko Chiong and the other 2. Bang, bang, bang. They flew up again and crashed heavily against the wall. Then they slid down limply and passed out. Zheng Tianhe smiled faintly and turned to leave. He was very confident in his white tiger killing skill. They would not survive this attack. Someone would find their corpses the next morning. By then, they would be stiff, and only a grand, overarching heavenly immortal would be able to save them. He shook his head and slowly walked past the three of them. Then he left the alley step by step. The alley quickly returned to silence as if nothing had happened. After a long while, Ko Chiong opened his eyes and took out a jade bottle from his robe with trembling hands. He poured out a pill and put it into his mouth. It took him about 10 minutes to drink a cup of tea before the pill reached his mouth. He was so exhausted that he almost collapsed to the ground, unable to move a muscle. After taking a breath, he took out the jade bottles from Lu Shu's and Feng Wuji's chests, took out the spirit blessing pills, and stuffed them into their mouths. Then he lay down on the ground, panting like a fish that had jumped onto the shore. His life was finally saved. Chuli sat in the small courtyard and pondered. He had long known that Zheng Tianhe had the intention to kill him. However, apart from Yang Ying, none of the White Tiger sect disciples did not want to kill him. Zheng Tianhe was no exception, so it was not strange. Chapter 970. Zheng Tianhe squinted his eyes as he sat on the stone table lazily like a cat. The sun was so bright that it almost melted him. After a while, there was a knock on the door. "Come in," Zheng Tianhe said lazily. A middle-aged man opened the small courtyard door and approached. He bowed and greeted clan leader. The middle-aged man was dressed in green. He was handsome and had a free and easy temperament. However, he remained humble in front of Zheng Tianhe. He bowed slightly and looked at Zheng Tianhe with a smile. He quietly waited for Zheng Tianhe to ask questions without disturbing him. He was the deputy clan leader of the Roaring Tiger clan. Huya, the clan leader of the Roaring Tiger clan, was an official disciple of the White Tiger sect. It was just a title. The management depended on each person's preference, but all the trivial matters were handled by the deputy clan leader. Huya, he was awe-inspiring in front of the disciples of Roaring Tiger Hall, but he was as humble as a servant in front of Zheng Tianhe. He never disobeyed Zheng Tianhe and obeyed all of Zheng Tianhe's orders. He was truly a vice hall leader. After a while, Zheng Tianhe asked lazily, "Is there any news?" "No, clan leader." Huya shook his head. "The Radiance clan is very quiet. No news of their deaths." Zheng Tianhe frowned. "No," Huya replied. Zheng Tianhe scoffed. "Could it be that they've come back to life? Go and investigate again. Send someone to the Radiance clan too. I want to see if they're dead or not." "Yes," Huya said. "I'll personally bring some people over to cause trouble. They're weak and not worth mentioning." Go," Zheng Tianhe said faintly. "I'm too lazy to deal with a few repulsive people. You might as well just destroy the Radiance clan." "This," Huya pondered and said hesitantly, "Clan leader, what's wrong?" Zheng Tianhe opened his eyes and looked at him. Huya had never disobeyed him. This change made Zheng Tianhe very uncomfortable. Huya bit the bullet and said helplessly, "Shouldn't you think about it carefully? Killing the three of them is different from destroying the Radiance clan." "What are you afraid of?" Zheng Tianhe said faintly. "Are you afraid of the Radiance clan's revenge?" "I'm not afraid of the Radiance clan. I'm afraid of the Holy Church of Light," Huya said in a low voice. "If something happens to the Radiance clan this time, the Holy Church of Light will definitely go crazy. I'm afraid that our Roaring Tiger clan won't be able to survive. If the Holy Church of Light wanted to take revenge, the Roaring Tiger clan would be the first to bear the brunt. If they went all out, the Roaring Tiger clan would be destroyed overnight. By the time the White Tiger sect reacted and retaliated, the Roaring Tiger clan had already been annihilated. His subordinates and even himself were already dead and could not be resurrected. I'll bear all the consequences. Just do as I say. Zheng Tianhe's face darkened as he stared at him coldly. Seeing his expression, Huya knew that if he continued to resist, he would probably fight. A wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. He quickly said, "Yes, yes. Since Hall Master has thought it through, I will do as you say. I will go through fire and water without hesitation." "Very good. Go ahead." Zheng Tianhe waved his hand, squinted his eyes, and began to bask in the sun. As the deputy hall master, Huya could command his subordinates like an extension of his arm. Soon, he brought 30 masters to the Radiance clan. The Radiance clan currently only had 10 disciples. Firstly, the standards of the Radiance clan's disciples were high. They only accepted those who were above the perfected innate stage. Secondly, the other 3 sects were poaching them, making it extremely difficult for them to recruit disciples. However, with the Holy Church of Light's reputation, there were disciples who resisted the temptation and joined the Radiance clan. They now had 2 grandmasters and 8 perfected innate stage masters. They should not be underestimated. Huya brought 30 masters with him to ensure that nothing went wrong and completely destroy the Radiance clan. He was slightly worried. There were many people guarding the clan, but few masters. Fortunately, they had no opponents other than the Radiance clan. They had a tacit understanding with the other 2 sections. Even if they fought, they would only fight on a small scale. In order to unite the disciples' morale, they would not slack off. Huya was certain that he could destroy the Radiance clan with these masters and launch a surprise attack. Since he could not disobey the Hall Master's orders, he had to be thorough and not be half-hearted. Otherwise, he would not be able to destroy the Radiance clan. Not only would he suffer losses from the Hall Master, but the Hall Master would also think that he was not doing his best because of his opposition. He would also offend the Radiance clan. It would be ridiculous if he could not get along with both sides. They were imposing. When they arrived at the Radiance clan, they found that the Radiance clan was empty. There was no one there. It seemed that everyone in the Radiance clan had withdrawn and abandoned this place. Otherwise, even if something happened outside, and all the Radiance clan's disciples were mobilized, they would still leave 1 or 2 people to guard the door. "Hall Master, why don't we plunder this place?" A disciple from the Roaring Tiger clan asked with a smile. The people had left, but the items were still there. They could search carefully and find the place where the Radiance clan hid their treasures. It was not a wasted trip. "All right, plunder it." Huya gritted his teeth. Since he had offended them, he would offend them to the end. From today onwards, the Roaring Tiger clan and the Radiance clan would fight and become real enemies. Yes. The masters were elated. They could plunder things effortlessly and did not have to hand over the items to the Roaring Tiger clan. This was a rare opportunity. They spread out in all directions and were about to plunder the house when a loud noise suddenly exploded in the sky. A fierce tiger pattern flashed in the sky. Under the clear sunlight, this black pattern was particularly eye-catching. It was like a thick black cloud floating in the sky. Everyone could see it. "This is bad. Let's return to the clan quickly." Huya's expression changed. The others also felt that something was wrong. Most of the masters in the clan had come over. There were only 2 masters among the 100 or so people left in the clan. There were not even any grandmasters. If the people from the Radiance clan had gone to the clan, they could imagine the situation. Zheng Tianhe looked at Zhao De, who was standing in the courtyard with a gloomy expression. In this courtyard, he could see the signal in the sky and hear the screams and curses coming from the Roaring Tiger Clan. He could imagine that the Roaring Tiger Clan's disciples were being defeated. He stared at Chu Li gloomily. "Who are you?" Alarm bells rang in his mind. The person in front of him was a top-notch master. His instincts told him to escape, but he forced himself to suppress it. The other party had already come to their door. There was no room for retreat. He could only fight to the death. "You don't know who I am?" Chu Li looked at him indifferently and looked down at him. "Aren't you here to kill me? Don't you have a portrait of me in the White Tiger sect?" "Zhao De." Zhang Tianhe suddenly realized and asked coldly, "What's going on outside?" "You want to destroy the Radiance clan." "Why should the Radiance clan be so polite?" Chu Li said coldly, "I'd like to see whether you'll destroy my Radiance clan or the Radiance clan will destroy your Roaring Tiger clan." Zhang Tianhe sneered, "You're just 10 masters. You want to destroy the Roaring Tiger clan. What a joke. You won't know if you don't try." Chu Li said calmly, "Your White Tiger killing skill is superb. You can try." You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.